I didn't understand that to say so, because I had asked the day before the matter was going to go to court, are we confident that there is a case? I was just asking because I had not been aware that I had been cited as a respondent number one. So I only became aware on the day before. So then there was also a rumor that I would want General Khumalo removed as head of crime intelligence and Khan being put there. And this is what I discussed with National Commissioner. National Commissioner, those rumors are not based on anything that is me. That would have. So you could see that it's a reflection of some of the things that are happening within the upper echelons of police. The root causes of which I wouldn't know, except that they are sort of oldish and they were there. And
have you tried to fix them, though, as the leader of the SAPS?
As said yesterday, first thing I started with was to assure the National Commissioner that he has my support. And I remember at some point, Deputy Minister saying, you have now said enough of you having confidence to the National Commissioner, because in any major function, I would say I have confidence to the National Commissioner. So my calculation was that once the National Commissioner is confident that it's not a question of a new minister coming in and wanting him removed. I have confidence. I even told him that I haven't even checked when your term expires, and that was true. I had not operationalized it in my mind. And so I was making it easy for him to feel free. And my calculation was that National Commissioner felt comfortable and were working together. Then the next thing was to say there's a problem between him and Sibia. And then I called a meeting. My other step was then there's a problem between Sibia and one provincial commissioner. And then we said, I was intending to call a meeting between Sibia, who was kind of a common factor, with Khumalo, to say, what's the problem between yourselves? Because you are now hampering and disturbing the flow of work of police. Now, that I had not had the opportunity for. I don't think that they have real fundamental things like this one was trying to remove my head and I dug a big bullet, and so I don't like him, and so on and so on. I think over time things have accumulated among them of one way or the other, and they are in this state of affairs, which is really very, very, very worrying, to say the least.
Okay, before I move on to my last and final issues that I want to raise, Minister, what did you think that day when you saw Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi addressing that media briefing? What went through your mind? Did you think that the nation had failed, you had failed? What went through your mind?
Even though I didn't see him on the day because I was busy elsewhere, I only saw that afterwards. My first reaction was, what has happened? And then my mind raced back to fight back. Is it fight back? Is it taking this shape? But I couldn't help but recall that there had been that mention of a fight back. Now later, when General Khumalo got arrested together with other people, then there was also another expression, the gloves are off, that I must be told that gloves are off. And I had not arrested Khumalo and other officers. There had been, but the word was, tell minister to prevent the arrest of Khumalo, which told me that General Mkhwanazi got or became aware before they actually got arrested. I was in Cape Town. So get minister to stop the arrest before the arrest happened. And then when that message didn't come, because he spoke to the chief of staff who was getting out of Cape Town, and he told that person, no, let's talk when I arrive in Johannesburg. And when he arrived in Johannesburg, that person who had been sent by General Mchunu as alleged, then calls chief of staff to say, General Mchunu says, leave it, because General Khumalo has been arrested. And he said, you must tell Minister, gloves are off. So I'm looking at these things that are happening through the lens of those two expressions, and in between a lot of other things. And I'm looking at that as something that had an impact in changing the mind of the National Commissioner, who even went to court to say he thinks that, or in a sworn affidavit, that he has no problem with the directives and so on, but the how part, and he wrote it down in black and white, which is further evidence that he had no problem and so on. He would then turn later when he went to the commission and for the first time clarifying where he stands and so on.
Okay. Thanks, Minister. Just my last few questions. You spoke about the Chief of Staff now. Minister, what framework demands that when you're hiring a Chief of Staff, you have a panel of interviewers, firstly? And secondly, who were on the list of other candidates that you mentioned that this panel was looking at?
I was meant to come with how, I don't know whether I got it. Yeah, how I rather read that to say this is the standing practice, and then I'll come. Sometimes there's compliance, sometimes there's no compliance. I'll find it.
Okay, while he's still looking at that, sorry, Minister, we'll come back to it as soon as you get it. So, Chief of Staff has got a BTEC in policing and a diploma or so. The position of Chief of Staff is at a level 14, a Chief Director in the Public Service, Major General in the SAPS. The minimum requirement for a Chief Director is an NQF level 8, which is a honors degree. So does the BTEC equate to a NQF level 8?
It would be honors and or. Then they will put other things.
But does the BTEC equate to the NQF level 8?
No, it's 7. But if you have diploma or diplomas, then it...
Minister Susqat, is it not NQF level 8? Then if you have anything else, but for the door to be opened, it has to be a NQF level 8.
For sure. Let me see what happened. But there are specifications. But those specifications, I know that if you have other things, it happens that way.
Okay, maybe, I don't know if your legal counsel would either have a job description or an advert for a level 14.
Yes, I'm saying this because in many instances it has happened that a person doesn't have an honors degree, but has a junior degree plus other things that when when SACA investigates or go through your qualifications as a whole, they peg you at a required NQF and they say you qualify for that. It has happened that way.
Okay, Minister, you were Minister of Public Service and Administration, so I'll take your word for it, but I have never seen it in practice. Otherwise, many people would not have studied if we could pack to get to NQF level 8. I'm not sure if you've got that information, Minister.
I don't know.
Honorable Sangon.
Yes.
Your time is no more.
Yes, the Chief Whip has said that he's taking over in 5 minutes. My last issue, it is my last issue. My last issue, Minister, is on the signal messages that are in this document. When the Minister was testifying and he was asked about this message on page 79, which says that, Minister, I've got the case number in the judgment, now we've got something proven by the court. This is a matter which either Sibiya or the Minister can charge Khumalo with and apply Rule 9 of the disciplinary hearing. You testified, Minister, that you didn't know what he was talking about, so you didn't pay attention to it. But this is a big thing for you not to pay attention to it. When Brown Mkhotsi says, I've got something that you or Sibiya can use to charge Khumalo, and he tells you what to do, how could you not seek clarity on this thing? Why would you just leave it? And then why would he refer to the two of you as a collective we? Minister?
In the first place, there's no minister who would have charged Khumalo. No such a thing. And I doubt if the Deputy National Commissioner would have done that. And both of us, the Minister and the Deputy National Commissioner, is just a no-no. There's no such a procedure in the first place. He can only be charged by the National Commissioner or from outside. Now, when it came as one thunderous thing, but about nothing. So I disregarded that on that score, that I didn't understand the meaning thereof. But knowing that I had received more or less other messages of that nature, including from Mkhotsi, which you struggle to have a meaning for. So I couldn't pursue that, but at least I knew that I had no such intention, because I mentioned there, and there's no such. So sometimes you just say, let me go on with my work, because there's no such. You are sure about that.
Okay, Minister, so you did testify that you wouldn't necessarily discuss issues of SAPS with Mr. Mkhotsi, but you can tell that from the message he's deep within the issues of SAPS. Whether he knows processes or doesn't, he's actively working for something, whatever it is in SAPS. Then he goes on in that other page where he says they can't get anything on the Phoenix saga. Then he talks to you about people who are off the funding inverted commas, 20, and this guy has a 3 billion rand contact with SAPS. So he's also talking about setting up that meeting between Deputy National Commissioner and Chief of Staff. This doesn't sound like somebody who was not deeply involved in the issues of SAPS, Minister, and he's writing to you about them.
Let me just...
what would you do when he does things like this?
Let me talk about 3 billion, tender. I didn't even know, up to date, I don't even know what that tender is, what it is all about. I didn't know. One thing that I noted there that we had spoken about with him was the Phoenix thing, where he had called me and alleged that there was an investigation on Phoenix, which Phoenix is a wholesale in KZN. So he said there is somebody who is investigating and wanting to trump up some link or some trumped up links between me and Phoenix, and I didn't even know what that thing was about. And I said, you will tell me when you know something better about it. We were on the phone. So when it returned in the manner that it returned, I assumed that it refers to that. But the 3 billion tender, I didn't know. I didn't even phone him back, nor did I respond, because I just got lost what that thing was all about, let alone that I have nothing to do with tenders and subs, except in an instance where, like the one of 360, where I came across something that attracted me to make an inquiry with the National Commissioner.
Okay. Just to correct you, you did respond to that message, Minister, but it's cut off. That's the one Honorable Wessels was referring to yesterday, where you said, Minister, This is the last question. I'm going to close my laptop. I just need to read this to you. So you said since the 6th of July, you've been smelling, looking, everything, General Mkhwanazi. You addressed a meeting of the ANC recently, outside the scope of terms of reference, I know. But I was very interested in what you said. And because you were wearing General Mkhwanazi, I wondered if this had anything to do with the current saga. There you said, uma uguti wenze iphutha, ulenze iphutha ngoba phela umuntu ngumuntu. Ungasabi ukwenza iphutha, ulenze nje. Futhi uma bekugxeka bavumele. Do you remember you talking about that?
Yes, I remember.
What mistake did you, if you were talking about yourself, Minister, feel that you made there? I mean, you go on, you know what you said, right? So what is it that you were addressing? What mistake? And from this experience, do you have any lessons that you think you've learned?
I wasn't addressing me at all on that day. I was addressing the chair of the task team in the region where I come from, Mr. Elfas Mbata, saying, you have been appointed to chair the region here. As you work, you may make some mistakes, but even when you are criticized, go on, because...
So it was not about you making mistakes?
No, not at all. I saw some tweets and something like that on social media. It had nothing to do with me. I was almost facing Mbata.
Have you made any mistakes, Minister, and do you think there's any lessons you need to learn from this?
Yes, there would be mistakes. No one is perfect. I know that, and me too. I'm not perfect, but I always make an effort not to make mistakes. But even in that, but when I realize that I've made a mistake, I try by all means first to admit that I made an error and then correct whatever error I would have made.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much. Chief Whip, the honorable member has informed me that your time is indivisible. So your time is going to expire at 20 minutes after 16 hours. So let me just take some 10 seconds and recognize Honorable Mani from the MKP. If you can please raise your hand. Thank you so much. Honorable Nana from the DA. Thank you so much, honorable members. Chief Whip, you may proceed.
No, thanks, Chair. I think, Minister, I think the first thing that I just want to bring your attention to, and you don't have to go and read because I will quote and give you the context. On your affidavit, which you presented to us, paragraph 27 and paragraph 37. Paragraph 27 talks about the fact that the extension of the lifespan of the PKTT was done on the basis of a consultation between the minister and the National Commissioner. And I would imagine that would be a meaningful consultation, meaning a direct consultation that would have taken place. Now, on paragraph 37, you are then saying that you are bringing to our attention, actually, that both Generals Masemula and Mkhwanazi, in your own words, you are saying they failed to produce the evidence of the extension, because the last extension that took place was before the resignation of the then National Commissioner, General Sithole. Now, my question is, in terms of that position, Minister, do you have any evidence which confirms that indeed there was no consultation?
Rather that there was no extension.
Sorry, yeah. No, let me explain why I'm putting it this way. Remember, your contention is that throughout the period after General Stolle departed, the two generals who came before us were unable to provide evidence that the sustenance of the PKTT was as a consequence of a confirmed consultation between the National Commissioner and the Minister. That would be Minister Pegicel in this case. Now my question is, do you have evidence that actually there wasn't any consultation? Remember, they didn't give us evidence that there was a consultation according to your contention. But will you be in the position to give us evidence contrary? That actually here is the evidence. There was never a consultation.
I'm trying to think what form other than that it's not there. Maybe some investigation, because you can have it in concretely when it is there, but when it is not there, it will be difficult to say here is evidence other than via an investigation within the department to say. But on my check, I was satisfied that none exists.
Okay. Now, in the normal course of events, would that consultation only be limited to a written and signed document between the Minister and the National Commissioner, or it might also include a conversation between the two?
I would basically argue that it would have been written based on information that I got, that it was written, but I can't deny that it may have taken whatever other form, if it did.
Okay.
But in this instance, it was based on written.
Okay. No, thanks, Minister. I was asking that question because I thought, because even when General Stolle left and General Masemula took over, I suppose that's how they followed each other, or whatever the sequence might have been. But even as he has departed, the evidence exists that beyond his tenure, meetings of the IMC did take place and reports were taken to Cabinet.
Yeah.
Which may therefore justify a conclusion that in whatever form it may have taken, a green light was given by both the then Minister Cele and the National Commissioner for the PKTT to be extended. So that is the point that I wanted to make. You may want to comment on it.
Yes, it's not just the reason why I was doubting verbal, it was because it has to be in the form of an assessment written down, as opposed to a request for money. There's a distinction. That's why the CFO in 2024 March talks about the need for a work study if the National Political Killings Task Team is to be drafted into the organogram. It suggests that there would have been a work study. It can't be verbal, and such a work study signed and would then extend the term, and then it would release money, as opposed to the process going the other way around. So I doubt that you could do it verbally, both the assessment and signing for the extension.
So in that context, Minister, shouldn't we then come to the conclusion that if there was an expectation that a meaningful consultation will occur between the Minister and the National Commissioner to extend that therefore a meaningful consultation would also be rationally expected between the minister and the national commissioner to discontinue.
It would be expected.
It would be expected.
I think so, if I hear you well.
Okay. But in this case, we can conclude that because if the way in which you would expect it would be in a written form, in some form of an assessment, remember, between the big chiefs, the minister and the national commission.
Yes.
Would I be wrong then to conclude that that did not meaningfully happen between the Minister Mchunu and General Masemula in the case of a discontinuity?
That there was no extension.
Meaningful consultation between the two chiefs that, okay, we're discontinuing.
No, I have explained that I didn't consult per se on face-to-face or in writing, but there were meetings on factors. I singled out one factor that I had a problem with. It is the category of people who came to report certain things, certain practices. And I felt that because of this factor, I wouldn't be able to, I would be able to rely on it to effect the directive. And then we will have discussions later, but I took that as risky and serious, and that I wouldn't be able to go to anyone and talk to them on this particular matter.
Okay.
But
Now,
others, I would want to you to underline that there have been processes, there have been everything, but not on the actual directive to disestablish.
Now, in your response to a question from I think from the senior counsel, including from some of my colleagues, Minister, you made references to the fact that you had directed the Chief of Staff to send the letter to the acting commissioner and the national commissioner.
Yes.
And then he decided, without your direction, to send it to the PAs of other generals. And I want to say, would the PAs of other generals include the PA of General SB?
I can't recall specifically, but I do recall him indicating that he sent to some PAs. I can't recall whether he did it to all deputy national commissioners.
Okay. I'm asking this question, and I really would not hold you accountable for that, because that was a person acting outside your instruction. But I'm asking this question because a particular web has been created of Mohoti, Matlala, Sbiya, and I will explain later on why that web becomes a matter of concern to us, and his conduct to decide that beyond what the minister has asked me to do, I'm also sending to all others. Because when you read that web, it becomes, it's very difficult to believe that he would have excluded the PA of General SB.
Yes.
And it's very easy to conclude that the inclusion of General SB as PA may very well be informed by the fact that he had an interest for SBIA to act faster without being delayed by anybody else above SBIA. I mean, that's not your question. It's a question we will pose to him,
Yes,
given the
okay.
deductions that we can make when we look at the sequence of events after that. But I'm not posing it to you. And then when you were responding to Honorable Malema on the Mohoti question, of course, you referred to the character that you did not know, and we explained what you explained. I don't want to get into details about what exactly did you say. Now, he appears to be very central to the crisis were handling Mkhotsi in one way or the other. Will there be a way in which this will have an impact in your relationship with him? Will it define the relationship in any way? You don't have to tell me in what way, but given what has happened now, and here is this correct, do you think that is going to redefine the way in which you related to him?
Without it being central, and my view is that it is not central, but your second question, definitely it would have to. It will have to affect the relationship. Why? Because I related to him as an ordinary comrade, just like I do to other comrades, many comrades. And then I relate to all of them without asking them many questions. Like when I heard that he may have had his membership expired, I recall, I never asked him whether your card is current. And it happened so with other comrades. So I would say that I just took it as a comrade whenever we talk and relate. It's only now that I get to know other things that, oh, there's this as well. So he talks to so-and-so, he talks to so-and-so, all these people that are being revealed in the Madlanga Commission, which I had no information about. The first time I sort of blew my nose was when somebody said, this guy seems to be talking about you dropping your name, and so on. It was sometime this year, to which I reacted by calling him to say, I'm getting information that you dropped my name where you are and all of that, which he denied. And I had no way of, confronting him at that time to say, but here and here and so on. But it will definitely redefine the relationship. It will have to redefine.
Okay, thanks. Now, when you were responding to Honorable Nomvalo, I think he was asking you a question in relation to how you gathered together the information which help you to come to a conclusion. Some of it was from the public, others, so it came from different centers or different platforms.
Yes.
Now, given what I would say, Minister, is an established fact, at least in my own assessment, that there's been a huge public condemnation of this decision. Now, the decision I'm talking about is a decision to de-establish the National Political Killing Task Team. I may be wrong, but my own assessment is that there's been a huge public condemnation. And of course, it's informed by many things, some of which I will come to it later on. Would you say that had you been alive to all that you know today, you could have taken a different decision?
I would specifically say I would have taken the same decision, but the form would have been different. Like I said yesterday, I said when somebody was asking me, given what has happened, whether I would find a different approach to this, whether I would do it differently. I said yes, I would do, now that all these things, I would do it differently. Now, I'm saying the same thing. The decision would have needed to be taken, Honorable Mpemba, based on, it's even if you try to duck it, you try to avoid it, you would have needed to take a decision of this nature at some point, purely based on how you use money that is available, and ask yourself whether the way we are using money currently in subs is optimal, is in line with the wish to protect everybody, not only in KZN but in the country? Is it optimal use? And also given the fact that you now have the new structure which does everything that the National Political Killings Task Team is meant to do, and so on. So you would have had to take the decision, but maybe the form that it would take, you definitely would have needed. If you were aware, if I was aware, I would have taken, it would have taken a different form, the same decision.
On paragraph 84 of your affidavit, Minister, you are referring to the meeting that took place on the 21st of November. And that is a meeting of the minister and his two deputy ministers. And you are very particular that that meeting, among its own part of its decisions, was that the minister must have a meeting with the National Commissioner.
Yes,
there was a web of, a lot of allegations that were there, and the direction was that the minister must meet with the National Commission. Now, before you answer that, on the 22nd, there's another meeting that takes place, which is not a meeting of the minister and the National Commission, but it's all other people who are there. Was the meeting of the 22nd already planned when you went to the meeting of the 21st?
Yes, because we can't, we couldn't call a meeting in a day. It was already planned. It was already in our plans. I think we had a chat, a little chat about that even on the 21st. But yes, it was already planned. But on the first question, the actual resolution was that no, engage the National Commissioner, of course, in the meeting. That was how we framed it.
Don't you think that maybe if you had engaged the National Commissioner in a way that I think you were directed by your meeting with your colleagues, as opposed to engaging him in a bigger meeting with everybody else on the 22nd, you would have understood each other very well? And I'm asking that in the context of the fact that the National Commissioner came to you a month earlier, in October, and raised concerns about some of his colleagues, including his deputy, General Sbia. Now, you now meet on the 21st of November, again on the 22nd. And we got a sense that on the 22nd, that is where a discussion took place about challenges facing the organization. But don't you think that a one-on-one with him to go deeper on these matters would have been helpful as opposed to the 22nd meeting?
They perhaps would, but on the 22nd, I still had no idea how, what the engagement would need to take, what form it would need to take, because we had just met the previous day. So I was beginning to think, what would be the issues, what would be the approach, and so on. And I was still way before I could circle with anything that would make sense to me at that particular time. But theoretically, had something circled already to me, definitely I see that would have been the case, assisted, yes.
I'm asking that, Minister, because I mean, you sit with your deputies, and that's a political leadership of the department. And I imagine that when you were looking at these allegations, you were not looking at them in general. There may have been some general things, but you would be particularly concerned about their evolution. Maybe the allegations now, they might tomorrow evolve to be the truth. So now you're a political head, you're sitting with your colleagues, and they're saying, please go and engage the chief of the police, because we can all see these things are going to lead into a major national crisis if they remain unattended. So that is why I was raising this question, because I was worried that it seems like you place less value to that conversation, and yet the October meeting, you met with him and he raised concerns himself about some of his colleagues.
Yeah, the meeting of the 22nd, our minds were made up. for raising other issues which were different from this one, and they were specific. I was going to raise as I did, the murder rate, the drugs and firearms, and then GBVNF. So we're like made up for that, even on the agenda and every other thing. But had it not been maybe for that, I continue to agree with you that you would have taken a step maybe much earlier. It would have helped, but it wasn't to be one, because I had not made up my mind, not because I put less value, not at all. I allowed it to sink, to occupy my mind going forward, and it did for some time though, because I was saying, if I were to engage, what form, what issues? And there were already issues on the basket. We were going for the workshop, 3-day workshop, and that included equity matters between different units and better conditions. So that was already occupying our mind at the summit later. But I had this thing that there are serious matters that we have to discuss, and I wanted to tackle those at the beginning of the year.
No, thanks, Minister. In paragraph 140 of your statement, paragraph 140, you make reference to the role of crime intelligence and the killing of Mr. Makaka. What is the issue there? Would you like to share that with us, or it's a matter that...
Well, it's basically something that some of the people that I say contacted me wanted to talk about. Yes, maybe I could put it at that, which I then said, I would want these people or that person to come in person wherever, which I had no idea at that time what form it would take. That's why at the beginning of the year, should it be a ministerial inquiry? I had that. That's why I even had a discussion with Pikoli and so on. But we had not settled, we didn't settle on that idea, but there was an idea that there should be a platform of sorts for such people and allegations of that nature.
Okay. In your affidavit, paragraph 158, you refer to a recruitment of intelligence to strengthen a certain paramilitary structure in KZN. What is that?
Well, it's in the context of the need which was expressed via the directive which I was meant to sit with the National Commissioner on. And it's one of the issues that I intended originally to have a discussion on with the National Commissioner, among others, as we sit and discuss what recruitment, what form it should take, what are the other things that we should bear in mind. I had picked up information that there were such intentions in KZN. I wouldn't be able to talk in details, but somehow these would also rely on some of our structures as those get built. In other words, they would exploit any weakness and take any possibility as those paramilitary structures get established on the site.
Well, are you comfortable to share more on that? Because I'm asking because what you are saying in your affidavit is that this paramilitary structure, which was being organized or being set up in KZN, had its own ambition. Now, I don't know whether the ambition are of the structure or the creator, and whether the structure is in existence already, or you were picking up information that it was about to be. Because, but your statement say to strengthen the paramilitary structure in KZN. So I would imagine strengthening means it's existing already. And it has ambitions.
Existing in some form, but there was that, according to what I got, and the ambition is that of those who were said to be behind such structures.
But would this not be the PKTT?
Well, PKTT is a political party.
No, I'm saying when you talk about this structure, you are not referring to the National Political Killing Task Team.
Oh, I thought my mind is on something else. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but it might.
Well, I'm sure if any matter would have been gone into, if such a fact would turn out to be true, then it would be. But from the legal that I got, it just came in that form that some paramilitary is in the formation, strengthening, and so on.
Were you given a sense by the people who shared that information with you? Were you given a sense of the nature of the relationship between the PKTT and the paramilitary structure?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay. I hope that matter, Minister, will have to be followed very urgently, given the fact that, as you know, you know where we come from in KZN. I don't have to educate you or anyone about it. And of course, if at your level there's an observation of a structure like that being in existence and with its own ambitions, which I would imagine are devoid from the ambition of the South African security forces, that does present a particular threat.
I agree with you fully.
Thank you. And then, Minister, the meeting that was, I think you've dealt with this question at a different level, about the meeting that was requested by General Mchunu, in which he wanted to attend with all these other people, including Mr. Brown Mokgotsi, who is not a part of the organization. Now, I know you responded why you did not grant that meeting, and you explained, and you had a plan that you were also having an intention at some point to have a one-on-one with General Mchunu.
Yes.
So that he can have an opportunity to express himself and you can understand each other.
Yes.
But some of the issues that resulted in you not taking that direction, and this may not be exhaustive, but some of those issues was the level of anger on his part and the threat that he meted against you. What would you say to a South African that is sitting somewhere and saying, in that environment, was it not the case that the individual interest or circumstances of the minister, our minister, remember this is our minister, all of us as South Africans, were now taking precedence? They were taking precedence over national interest. Because here is a very senior general. I'm saying senior because he's a provincial commissioner, and he says, among other things, when he's asking for a meeting, besides his family issues and what, but he begins by talking about internal challenges in the organization. Now we are sitting there as a South African, you hear that part of the reason that the minister could not meet with this general were around the question of the threat and the anger of the general. How would you respond to this South African who say, maybe at that moment, the individual interests of the minister were taking precedence over our national interest?
Not really, because I decided that the meeting would rather take a different form. Let me start with a meeting of General Masimula and General Sibia. Let me then go to the meeting with General Sibia and General Mchunu, which were not my interests, beyond that of the nation. So I decided a different angle, or to start the meeting in a different way. These other ones, his posture after, as a reaction to my directives, was not uppermost at that time, but they were in the environment, as I said before. But the main thing was, so General Mchunu is talking about internal issues. He's mentioning these people. Perhaps I should start with the two whose matters are kind of buzzing in subs at head office from where I sat, so that we move and so on, intensify these interactions. If there are problems, let's resolve. At some point I said to National Commissioner, could he give me an opportunity to resolve or to approach General Sibia on his own matters as alleged and so on. So I was very keen to actually not leave anything but in the context of that request, but also in my own right, because I was sensing that there is a certain level of turmoil. So never did that happen, or nearly happen, that I had personal interests on the matter. I was just putting it aside, looking at it, how it would develop, that kind of reaction. And we're going on to work with my side on that, on the side.
Now, the Minister, would you agree with me when I say the confidence of the population on the work of the South African Police Service should also manifest itself in one way or the other, to the extent to which they also express the confidence in the leadership of that South African Police Service?
It's basically one basket, because they are meant, they expect that the minister would make efforts to raise the bar, or raise confidence of South Africans to law enforcement in one way or the other, where it is to a higher level and so on. So it's somehow tied, it's a chain in a way.
Okay. Now, how do you think South Africans have interpreted your intervention when you said here in this ad hoc committee, for a certain matter, you are pursuing a private investigation as a Minister of Police? What message do you think that is likely to communicate to the Republic?
Well, it's the nature of what I'm doing, and I take it that there would be understanding. I can't go to a police station and say I'm opening a case against so and so, because that is not what I have. I don't have a case against the individual that I can open a case against. But it does need to be followed up in a particular way. So I wouldn't expect any confusion on that. There are matters for which you can't go to a police station, but matters though that you have can't go to a police station because there's no case to register at that point. In other words, there's no obvious wrongdoing, but you are gathering information and so on. So I take it that there would be clear understanding of that.
Honorable Sangoni.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just to follow up. I'm sorry, Chief Whip. Minister, you complained at length about General Mkhwanazi, what's the word I'm looking for, going out to look for a case about you post facto. You said he has no case, he can't prove corruption, and he's going to look for it. How is what you are saying now different? You are the Minister of Police. You're supposed to have confidence in the police. If there's things that you're unhappy with, you report them to the police because there's a case. But you're saying you're going after someone, you don't have enough information, you've hired a private investigator. How does that differ from what General Mkhwanazi did to you or is doing to you?
No, it's different. Here, you've got a certain chain of activities that have emerged about, and they are aligned with a particular individual. Now, I then get a warning that so-and-so gets to drop your matters or your name here and there and so on. I phone him. And my intention is to talk to him and say, look, I have appointed somebody to look at whatever. I'm not opening a case. I'm just following on that allegation that I picked up, that I was warned about, to say he drops my name, which he denied. Now, when I look at the SMSs that are being spoken about, and if they are true, it does mean that there would be this and that, that it does dropping my name even on those. So it's something that is open that I need to find and so on.
Thank you.
Chief Whip, you may proceed.
Okay, no, thanks, Chair. Let me just give a second to the lawyer is still giving some information to the minister. No, I'm not a problem. I just want to be certain that the minister can hear me. I'm not condemning you. You are doing your work, yeah. Now, Minister, maybe let me just share this with you because it was raised earlier on, maybe without it being specific. This issue of how people interpret immediately other people. Let me just share with you what General Sbiya said to us. And he says that at paragraph 46 of his sworn affidavit, he told us that immediately does not mean 6 months or within a month. It means immediately, now. It's written like that in his affidavit. It means immediately, now. And of course, that position, that perspective has to be our understanding of that. In a way, it does coalesce with the understanding of the other two generals, which is Mkhwanazi and Masemula, that the intervention was with immediate effect. You can comment if you want to on this issue, but I'm just making you aware that your subordinates, the recipient of your instruction, if there's one thing that they are converging about, the three generals, the only thing I've heard that these ones are agreeing on is the fact that immediately means now.
I would contest that is their understanding. The first one is that General Masemula, I think he understood it well. It starts on the 3rd. It goes to the 22nd via a letter suggesting a phased approach in terms of managing the implementation of the directive. It goes to the meeting of the 6th, 5th, and then 6th, and then 27th, which had no immediate in that particular context. It was clear that this is his understanding. And I agreed with it. So if he came here to say immediate meant now, I would say immediately that, but that's not your understanding in terms of what you proposed. That's number one. Number two, I wouldn't know what was Sbia's thinking, because this thing is on two fronts. Immediate means now, but in terms of understanding that a decision has been taken, and then you start processes. But that in actual fact, you could say now, like switch off the light, I would say switch off the light now. You can stand up, and that's not the ordinary. That's not the thinking of an ordinary person in terms of what this thing would mean. Even now, we'll say, when are you going to Johannesburg? You say, I'm going to Johannesburg now, but you are going, the next thing you do, you go and wait in the airport for an hour or two. So I think let's be practical and ordinary and not seek to change the flow of things in the normal life. But when I wrote with a full understanding of what I meant. I'm taking a decision now, but let's meet on the 20th. Let's meet on the 20th, which itself was open. If anybody had a query, would have phoned, would have done all of that. But it's a, so I don't think we need to be fussy and rigid in terms of the meaning of immediate, even though it's applied. It has to be applied, like any other, I would say. And I even went on to say it's not like in a drill. I made an example. You can, so people can argue and so on. Otherwise, but when I wrote, that's what I meant. That's how I saw things. That's why I wrote preliminary report, even though I had said now, but said preliminary report, and I pointed at the 20th, and then later. And I know you don't stick with your dates necessarily like a robot. Sometimes things get postponed and so on. So it was in that context.
Chief Whip, let's just hold it there.
Okay.
I see you are left with very, very few minutes. I see there are 3 hands there. The minutes left are 4 for you, Chief Whip.
No, the 4 minutes is more than enough for me.
Yeah, no, I'm informing you that your time left is 4 minutes. Honorable Skosana, Honorable James, Honorable Ngola.
Thank you, Chair. I thought that the minister by today he will have accepted, the issue and the meaning that, it's like they are insulting our intelligence. Explaining this issue of immediate as if we don't understand and mhlambe asazi ukuthi immediate usho ini. And this already there was an illustration here. If you tell your driver that he must stop the car immediately, your driver will think and stop 100 kilometers away after you told him to stop the car. It can't be. I think, Minister, you must accept that immediate means immediate, not what we are trying to, the way you are responding to us is like we are going around the bush. We understand exactly what immediate means. Please respect us, Minister. Thank you, Chair.
I'm ruling you out because I thought you are asking a clarity-seeking question. Honorable James.
Chairperson, we must be mindful of the fact that there are children watching. And I think it's really, I want to agree with Honorable here. I think it's really insulting our intelligence to be going over this and saying that the word immediately may mean now or later and coming up with all of these examples. Can you not insult us like that? Can we just be clear? There's then a clear language barrier that is then evident in this room that we've been entertaining for the last couple of days, and we've been dragging on issues based on the simple meaning of words. Chair, we cannot continue like this. It takes up so much time. In every engagement with so many of the members, we've had to unpack what the word immediately means, and so many other words. Please protect us from this blatant undermining of our intelligence. Thank you, Chair.
I'm ruling you out of order because it's not a clarity-seeking question. Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the Minister in his response to the Chief Whip, he makes mention of the fact that anyone who would have had a problem with the immediate provision in his directive would have extended even a call to him to get some clarity if a need arises. Now, I'm taken aback, Chair, because if that would be a proper or adequate modus operandi, would we be here if the Minister had extended a call to General Mkhwanazi when it was reported by his Chief of Staff that General Mkhwanazi is angry and making threats? The same way he did when he heard that Brown Mohotsi is name-dropping him, he extended a call. Would we actually be here had that particular modus operandi operated way before this thing bested in the manner in which it has bested now? Thank you.
Okay. Let's do like this, honorable members. Minister, Honorable Minister, you have given many examples trying to explain the word immediately. And the last examples are the ones that you have just given now. Yes, no, I will come to you. About switching off the lights. Yes. And there are other examples that you have given earlier on, what the word immediately means and what the word immediately does not mean. And I want to plead with you and also plead with you, honorable members. If we make it a habit of this parliament to discuss words like swimming pool, fire pool, immediately, not immediately. We want to make it a habit of this parliament. It's a problem. We are leadership. A swimming pool must stay a swimming pool. And immediately must stay immediately. I don't see us wasting any time, Chief Whip, trying to discuss English words here. It's very clear. So immediately is immediately, we know it, Minister, what it means. It means now. Yes. Yes, it cannot be any other thing, and I just want us to move away from being hostages of semantics. There is an established understanding of what the word means. So we can't be a parliament that is known for what it is not supposed to be. Thank you so much. Honorable Nomvalo, your hand was up.
Yeah, no, on the same issue, Chair, I know that you have closed it. But maybe you are hard on the minister. Maybe he has a source that he uses which describes the word differently. Because dictionaries are used here in South Africa to get a meaning of the word. Dictionaries are used, and the name immediately has been used even by the office of the president to say this decision is effective with immediate effect. Maybe the minister can point us to a source that he is using with a different direction, because I even went to the Oxford Dictionary, I went to Cambridge. The word means now. It doesn't mean anything else. So I was going to ask, where does the minister get that definition from? It's a clarity-seeking question, because it might happen that really he genuinely believes that it doesn't mean now, because there is a source that he uses which describes words. So which source is the minister using to get that definition? Thank you.
Do you agree with my summary, Honorable Member?
I agree, Chair, but...
Yeah, no, we will pass the question, don't worry.
Okay.
Honorable Malem.
No, Chair, I want your summary to also apply to the minister. Because we, this side, seem to be understanding immediately to mean now. He's the only one who doesn't understand that. He gives it context of lights and all of that. He keeps on saying other things. So you are ruling, you must be able to communicate even to him or minister. Immediately means now, according to this meeting of ours, as a chair of this meeting.
No, I agree with you.
Yes, it must not only apply to us, and he must shift from wanting to, because it's not semantics. He keeps on speaking about context. When used in a particular context, it will mean something else. But the reality is, it means now, and we are not accepting his explanation and his redefinition of immediately. We are accepting what you are saying, and he needs to live with that. He needs to accept that.
No, I agree with you, because I have said it that it must not be a bad precedent for this parliament, where every time we have proceedings, South Africans will have to bring their dictionaries along, because they know Parliament will be arguing if this is immediately, or it's here after, or it's this and that. So, Honorable Minister, we have an established understanding of what the word immediately means. And let us not go back to the past. Let's go ahead with that. Let's proceed with that understanding. That immediately means now. Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Nomvalo has asked you a question which says maybe you might have consulted another source, and he is interested to know what is the source that would have given you a different understanding of the word.
I wrote immediately. And then I said preliminary report. And then I said Minesco. Now, I can't say any other thing, but it is the right of the committee to exclude what I included in the letter. I won't contest that, because you are the ad hoc committee. I'm not dealing with the meaning of immediate. I'm talking about it as applied in the letter that I wrote. Thank you.
No, honorable members, let's proceed.
Chair.
Hello, Honorable Malem.
Minister, are you accepting the ruling of the chairperson?
Honorable Minister, are you able to respond to the question?
The chair is chairing the meeting. And
yes. Are you accepting? We said we accept. He even asked us, do you accept my ruling? He asked Honorable Nomvalo if he accepts his ruling. So I'm asking you through the chair, do you accept his ruling?
I feel there is a prejudice I will suffer if I accept it as it is, the ruling. But, and I'm saying I have no problem with the committee deciding. But I feel that we can't exclude these other two words that I included.
Okay, I see Honorable Breitenbach and Honorable Ngola's hands are up.
Thank you, Chair. This point is dead. It has been flogged to death. I kind of wish it was me that had been flogged to death, but it has been flogged to death. We cannot, and neither can you, with the greatest of respect, tell the minister what to say. His evidence is his evidence. His answers are his answers. If you don't like them, you can cross-examine him on them. And if you still don't like that, you can argue it at the end, but we, and neither can you, put words in his mouth. That is just patently wrong and unfair, and I don't know any process that allows it.
Honorable Ngola.
Chair, you unfairly clubbed my question with people who were talking about immediately, and my question was differently packaged on the issue of the modus operandi the minister was suggesting people should have done. But it's fine, maybe the minister can make sentiments on it. But I want to check, Chair, now that this matter is coming to a close, that the minister says there is a context, and the context is that immediately then the 20th. And that is not the context in my understanding.
Yeah, no, I don't want us to debate the matter. I want the minister to respond to that question that you have asked, and we move ahead. You had earlier asked a question. So if we were going to keep on debating immediately on Medelec, I don't think that it's going to help us. Do you allow me to give the minister a chance to respond to the question that you asked?
It's fine, Chair.
You can restate the question so that he remembers what you...
I got it, Chair.
You got it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now, I was at that time merely indicating what could have been the case to clarify whatever, if there was any reason, if there was a reason to clarify it. It's a normal thing that if there's something like an instruction or a letter you don't understand, you can phone, you can ask for a meeting and on the site and so on. Then when you talk about General Mkhwanazi, that could have been done as well. I could have lifted the phone and say, I pick up that you are angry, but I didn't choose to do so. I chose to be quiet and silent on the matter and observe what's happening. Thank you.
Yeah, Chief Whip, may you use your last 4 minutes.
You remember my 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. No, thanks, Chair. No, I would stick to that 4 minutes. By the way, the reason I was raising this point, Minister, I know that my colleagues have taken it to a different direction. The reason I was raising it was because I wanted to bring to your attention, to draw your attention to the fact that the subsequent actions in the department following your directive were done on the basis of a particular understanding of what the directive meant. That's all I wanted to say. And I'm not contesting your argument about the context and all that we're saying. I wanted just to draw your attention to the fact that the way in which processes evolved in the department were driven by a particular understanding of the directive. Now, I want to conclude by, I'm just going to read a few things here and then ask the last question, Minister. You don't have to write them, or you can write them, but it's things that, it's just to connect the many dots up to date. The first one is that you wrote a letter on the 31st of December. The second one is that Mr. Nkabinde, without your instruction, shares the letter with all the PAs, which I want to contend it would not have excluded General Sbiya until I'm proven otherwise. The third point is that Mokhotsi talks about Matlala, talks to Matlala immediately, following the directive being out. In terms of the evidence that has been shown in the papers presented before us, there's an indication that they, soon after your directive, started to converse over WhatsApp. The fourth point is that Mokgotsi and Sbiya often find time to either talk to each other or even to meet. Sometimes they even meet where they were not expecting each other, but Mokgotsi would come across to greet. Number 5 is that Usbiya, after your directive, he immediately directed that Tama dockets must be brought back to the head office. Number 6 is that no work was done on any of those dockets when they were taken back to the head office for that 4 months. And when they were brought back, I think in less than a month after they were brought back, some arrests have taken place. Number 6 or number 7 is that when Mr. Matlala had a problem with his tender, he decided to go to the sub's headquarters or wherever, but to meet General Sbiya when Sbiya was the acting national commissioner. Number 7 is that in July, you issued a statement distancing yourself from Matlala, and then you directed your lawyers, as was, I think, engaged on the input made by Honorable Malema, which resulted in an affidavit or whatever that has happened. Now, here is my question then, Minister. With all these coincidences, that in and of itself present a serious conundrum on the state of the security in our country. These coincidences, all of them. Because from where you are sitting, these things are not coordinated to happen the way they happen, but this is how they happen in terms of the evidence before the people of South Africa. Now, my question is, and this is my last question, obviously. Now, as a cadre of our movement, and I'm using that deliberately, because as you know, I'm the chief whip of the ANC. As a cadre of our movement, how do you intend to restore the public confidence and the trust to the Ministry of Police, to the nation, and lastly, to our movement, given these allegations? Because the web that I've drawn for you, it would be difficult for anyone to disagree that read together, it constitutes a particular and a very serious threat to the legitimacy, not just of the work of the police, the nation, but equally the movement that you come from. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me leave the first set of things from 31st, all PAs, not because I'm not responding by saying I recognize them as important, just for the sake of time, leave them. But on dockets, I would recommend that the ad hoc committee gets a full report on the ad hoc committee and the state of dockets. My understanding is that it's not a simple matter of dockets moving from KZN and back and so on. And it's not a simple matter of dockets sitting in Pretoria and then back before we reach a conclusion on the matter. And I would attach a lot of importance that the committee makes an effort to get information. And I did at some point recommend that one of the people who can be an authority in terms of information on this, who handled, as far as I'm concerned, is General Motsipe. I would recommend that the committee makes an effort to provide that time. Two, on the relations between Matlala and Sbiya, I would agree, seeing that Matlala seems to be a person running. I don't know whether this is the only tender he got or the other tenders. That it's not a conduct that inspires confidence that you have your headquarters where the entrepreneurs just befriend you to a point where such a thing would happen. And it does affect confidence, for instance, to other tenderers or tenderpreneurs and so on, to say, so-and-so is able to run up and down, but I am also a businessman, I'm not able to run up and down, it's a problem. One of the things that I can mention in this regard is that somewhere in January, the offices of crime intelligence in East London, somebody just walked us to get inside the gate, proceeded to the offices, asked for a particular officer, went there and said, once he was there, declared the office a crime scene. Now, once declared a crime scene, he made a demand of, I think, 1.2 million or so. And then the officer in that office went out, came back with 1.2 million, gave it to this person. Person climbed down, walked out of the building, out of the gate, just walked, no car, no, and then walked and disappeared, although subsequently arrested by DPCI. But I'm saying those things, they contributed in one of the directives to say, what kind of people do we have in crime intelligence? And in Runback as well, there was also a report that 600,000 disappeared from the hands of officers who were there, distributed it to amongst themselves and so on. So those are the matters. So I would say it does take confidence. It does need to be looked at, our behavior in relation to business people and so on, if we are to inspire confidence. Leave that, go to, I do want to just pass the affidavit. We had a discussion with Honorable Malema on this in this committee, and I said I share his views in terms of the affidavit, but sharing the views as I do, that is the very thing that is being used to keep on poking at me to say, there's a person I relate with when I say, I don't relate to Matlala, I've never spoken, but there's still things that are running. Now, when the lawyers get an affidavit, I don't think I deserve to be, well, criticism is always, but I don't deserve to be, well, I would say we need to equally recognize that that is the very same person that is being used to say this one relates to the other. So when the affidavit says something, and people tend to disregard that, I have a feeling that says that we are choosing, we choose sides and so on. Let me pass that. So go to the fundamental question that what needs to be done when there is a situation like that and people in South Africa feel the way. I would have said openly to this ad hoc committee that down the line you would have needed some measures, maybe not wholesale overhaul, but you would have needed measures to overhaul certain aspects of South African Police Service if you are to gain confidence. One of those is to say, what is the standard? What are the norms and standards for a police station? And I've put it to management that let's do the norms and standards for a police station. Because police and policing is not just head office. Police and policing is what people see on a daily basis and what they hear on a daily basis. Now, what is the system that station commanders use to police their area and so on? What informs them? And then overhaul the system of vehicles in police stations. This practice of a car breaks down somewhere Kukumbu in the Eastern Cape. Then an email has to go to the district office, then to the provincial office, then to head office. And then the person who fixes cars says, I want to wait until there are 15 breakdowns before I go down. It just is taking us nowhere. It doesn't build confidence and so on. Make the system work in favor of those who are on the ground, who are chasing criminals on a daily basis. You need an overhaul there. We spoke about that, but I don't think that as of now we are talking. In other words, build confidence from the floor and upwards, and do tangible things. If you have a police station which you promised some 5, 10 years ago and you haven't done so, and there's crime, people will say it's because that police station has not been delivered. And therefore juggle the way you build infrastructure, your model of building infrastructure of police. And so there are quite a number of things. I call them enablers. We identified them and we spoke about them. Build down, and let's not talk too much. Let's talk less and do the job on the ground, and then deal with deal with matters. As long as we have this rate of matters, the drugs and firearms, which affects people on a daily basis, where they are losing their relatives and so on, people killed innocent. And for that you need resources. Let's be realistic. You need resources. And you're not going to get those from Treasury. You are going to have to deal with the matters on the ground. I would say it's a long process which needs drastic steps, of course with caution because you are dealing with people to take. But if you draw back, if you sit back and you think that there's going to be confidence suddenly, I don't think that is realistic. It's not. Unfortunately, Pemba, as I end, there are risks in doing these things, these reforms and so on. There are risks. It's not going to be like sleeping on a bed. There are risks. It's going to cause some gravel in terms of feelings and so on. But you need these changes. You need these changes on the ground so that you bring confidence to the people. And it needs that kind of resolve internal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Whip. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. We have come to the end of this session. No.
Speaker kanjani lapho Chair?
I'm saying we have come to the end of the session, not of the proceedings. We are going to break immediately and come back at 5. Thank you so much. We are resuming. I have spoken to the two members who are going to be given an opportunity to ask questions. That is Honorable Shongwe and Honorable Cameron. And the SC. The SC has requested 20 minutes. And I have been assured that these proceedings will be done by 19 hours. So I'm going to start with Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you, Chair. Baba Macungwan. Phakathi akagugi. Guga abafocus. Sho njalo. Ngulunga. Siyabingelela baba.
Siyavuma.
Siyabonga. Macungwan ngicabanga ukuthi awukho umbuzo ongawubuzwanga. Futhi sizogcina siphinde into eziningi kube ngathi asiphilile kahle emakhanda. Kodwa ke kukhona indawo engifuna sike siyibuke ebaluleke kakhulu kuthina ama South Africans. Engicabanga ukuthi isimilo sibaluleke kakhulu nobuntu. Uyabona nje mangikubiza nje ngithi phakade elingagugi. Ngithi uphakade akagugi, guga abafocus. Uchaza ukuthi thina abantu siyayiqhenya ngezibongo zethu. Uma kungavela nje iqhushu insizwa yakwaZulu lapha ya ebizwa ukuthi umageba. You know a character you expect from that person. You expect umuntu oshayayo nenkani. Ngenxa yokuthi sibongo esibuya koShaka Zulu built by a character yoZulu. Macingwane ke waziwa ngeNcwasman, thiwa iNcwasman bayayithanda abantu bamacingwane, bayayithanda impela. Futhi baqonda ngqo. Ngakwenzela example ngomunye wakini uNgizwe Mchunu. Vela ibeke nje injalo. Akathukani. Ngizama ukuchaza ukuthi kubaluleke kakhulu isibongo. uSC ukwakubuza ukuthi wenzani mhla ungena ehlalweni sobuminista. Yinto oqala wayenza ekubuza ngendlela ukuthi did you even go celebrate or what was the feeling you had? Angikukhumbuza ukuthi wahamba wayobona amakhosi asemachunwini if uyakhumbula. Washo wena ukuthi ayakweseka kulolu hambo ozolithatha. Now I want to know ukuthi kuwena mhlonishwa kule mibuzo sobuziwe ngifuna sibheke nje lento ebalekile engicabanga ukuthi ngathi yona ilahlekile la eSouth Africa. Kakhulukazi apha esiphoyiseni isimilo nonembeza. Uma ubuka isibongo sakumacingwane singena iqhashaza elokuthi babukeke njengabantu abanganalo iqiniso ngenxa yakho. Ngishiso lokho ukuthi eSouth Africa yonke wena no General Sibiya enazi ukuthi immediate hlusha ukuthi slow or later nina nobabili futhi nihamba nobabili kuleyo nto leyo. Akuphathi kabini ukuthi isibongo somacingwane mhlambe kusukela namhlanje njengomuntu omkhulu kangaka uyosifaka ohlazweni mhlambe sigcine sisinalo lochashaza ukuthi hey labantu laba banamampunga baphika into ebhaliwe ibhasi elibhaliwe aliphike nje.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kulolo daba selixoxiwe lwafinyelela ekugcineni. Kodwa ke senginga-add nje ukuthi anything noma yini ehlukumeza isibongo sasemachuneni noma ngabe yini iqhama ngayiphi indlela njengoba noma yini ehlukumeza abantu besinye isibongo ingabaphatha kabi So noma yini eqhamukayo engaphatha kabi isibongo saseMchununi ingiphatha kabi or ingangiphatha kabi noma ngabe yini.
So ngaloko ke mphathi wami awucabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe ungalithatha lethuba ulisebenzisa ukuthi usho ukuthi cha lokuthi ngiqinisa ikhanda ngithi immediately uminisha lokho engaminishi lokho for the sake of isibongo sabantu bakithi angihloniphise ngijike leyo mpendulo awucabanga mhlawumbe lokho
Cha, angikucabanga.
hayi ngikunikele lelo thuba mphathi wami. How confident are you kuma skills and competency wakababa uGeneral uSibiya? Ngubuza lokhu ngoba in his competency report, specifically page 8 and 9, it says he failed. In his words, it was not positive.
Ikhona ichashaza okulibekayo uze kube sengathi ungathi he passed, and any other person at that level you would want to say pass. That's what you would want to hear whenever such things are spoken about. Kodwa mawusuza ukuthi kwaba khona into enjalo iba khona into ethi then what happened. Kodwa ke kuya ngokuthi yayinamandla angakanani leyo nto ukumnika noma ungamnika umsebenzi nokuthi kuya ngokuthi izinto ezazikhona lapho zazi namandla kangakanani phezu kwalokho ngoba mhlambe kwakuyi out of 10 kwaba ileyo question or something like that. Anginayo into eqondile, ngiyakhuluma nje general, anginayo into eqondile ukuthi yini leyo kukhulunywa ngayo.
I-confidence yakho kuyena ubaba uGeneral Sibiya ime kanjani since usuzwile ukuthi hayi azange ibe positive?
Umuntu ongaphendula ngqo kanjalo supervisor wakhe uGeneral Masimula. Mina ngakhuluma ngeka General Masimula, umuntu engisebenza naye eduze kodwa hayi ko deputy general, so go deputy commissioner abangeni kulolu hlalo ukuthi whether or not nginayo confidence ngoba abasupervisor yimina, abasupervisor national commission.
Mhlawumbe nalombuzo engizokubuza wona ngangangiphendula kodwa ngangiphendula but ngiyacela uzame. 2016 iDA no Mr Herman Mashaba, they claim ukuthi ba-appointe Mr Sibiya. Do you have any idea ukuthi why they concealed to the South Africans or from the South Africans ukuthi they hired a person who doesn't meet the competency requirements?
Inkinga nje ukuthi esengeke ngikuzwa ngabanye abantu nanjengoba kunale commission kodwa abantu abazi kahle abantu ababekhona ngesikhathi eqashwa ukuthi bazi kwakukhonani babhekane bathini ngalokho uma kwakukhona ibona bangakhuluma babe inkulumo yabo ibe nesiqi. Mina ngifika nje usengaphakathi uSibiya.
Mhlawumbe wena if bekuwena ubuhleli lapha kulesahlalo ubungamthatha engaphasanga icompetence?
Umbuzo wakho uyawubuza kuya ngokuthi vele yini ezokwenza ukuthi umuntu aqasheke noma angaqasheki. Uma kuwukuthi lokho kumele njengomgomo ukuthi kuyamphasisa noma kumphasisi, ngeke ukuthi engayiphasanga ubusuyamthatha kodwa kuyiyo futhi into emile ekutheni uyadlula noma kadlula. So ngeke ngazi ukuthi le competency test okukhulunywa ngayo iyayimi kuphi ezintweni zonke ezazikhona.
Mhlawumbe njengomphathi phela ngenzela ukufunda nami ngizoba uminister ngelinye ilanga. Ucabanga ukuthi kulesi sihlalo esingaka noma kulezi ayitholile sidinga ukuthi umuntu icompetence yakhe ibe nayo mhlambe ngabe 100%? or ngamthatha ngo-98 ungamthatha ngo-20 or ungamthatha
Generally, ngokwe procedure noma ngokwenqubo, umuntu mayese interviewile kusho ukuthi wayiface panel yamnikeza amamaki na yonke into nokuthi angaconsider ukuthi athathwe ilabo ofanele bamthathe baye bamuse competency test kusese kuyobhekwa ama skills athize uma ke ibuya ibisihlanganiswa nokuthi kuthathwe ke isinqumo esiphelele ukuthi kwenzekani ngaye manje yikho nje ngithi angazi kahle ngoba ngangingekho ngesikhathi kwenziwa konke lokhu ukuthi yathi uma ibuya i-competency test inalokho bakufaka kusiphi isikali babona ukuthi kuyamvimba noma kuyamdlulisa base bethatha leso sinqumo kodwa ngokwenqubo nje kuqhutshwa kanjalo ukuthi after interview then competency test and then emva kwalokho ke bese yabuya ke ezoconsider ke lo qondene ukuthi uyamthatha noma kamthatha nokuthi unumber bani kulabo abanye kade be-interviewa kuyaye kusetshenzwe kanjalo.
mhlawumbe ukuze ngiyithole impendulo mhlonishwa angiyilungise la owakho umbuzo kuwe lo owuphendulayo uthi kwenziwa kanjani ukuze umuntu adlule emva kwe-interviews angene ku-competency bese kwenziwani owakho ke lo mbuzo oyibuze wena nawo kowami ngicela ukuyilungisa and gcina wesikhathi ungilungisela ungadli isikhathi sami ngombuzo ka-minister owami uthi if wena bokulesi simo salabantu abahleli ngale ubuzomcasha yini i-competence ingaphelelanga yini
uma ngabe i-competence inogcobo nani kuwukuthi futhi lokho ikhona okumesangweni ukuthi uyadlula noma adlule uma ukuthi akadluli ngenxa yalokho so bengeke kodwa uma kuwukuthi uhlelo lwabo ukuthi cha lo muntu engaphasanga kodwa ke uyathathwa kuwukuthi indlela abahlele ngayo ukuthi kuqashwana kanjani lapho kusho ukuthi ungamthatha ke uma ngabe kuwukuthi akubalekile ukuthi uyayiphasa noma akayiphasi i-competency test nanokuthi uma usukuhlanganisa namamaki onke oku-interviewa ubhekisisa futhi nabanye uzokwazi nokumthatha noma uzomthatha kodwa kuye kube kuhle ukuthi nje kuphaseke konke akuyona into straight forward ukuthi you fail i-competence then ngoba angazi noma i-competence noma i-aspect yayo or sangikhuluma nje ngikuzohlwini kancane oswini kancane
mhlawumbe angazi noma ngiyichaze kanjani minister ubuye wena uyibuze yakhe imibuzo bese uyayiphendula ungayi kulo buzo wemini ngake ngaba u-exam ama-learners license i-learners uyayiphasa or uyayifail uyabona ukuthi ubuze umuntu athi ngifeyile nga-1 ngifeyile kanti it's a pass or fail so i-competence njalo i-pass ne-fail in this regard if you were sitting in that position ubuzomthatha ubengekumthatha ephasa i-competence or eyifeyilile
manje kulukhuni ukuthi ngiphendule ngendlela ofuna ngayo ngoba usubuzile wona oqeda manje mase ngiphendula mina ofuna ukungalusa
cha angilungisa ngixolise mphathi wami
bese ngakwazi ukuphendula
ngenzela ukuthi
ngithi
ngiyaphendula lo ubuzwe mina
ngiyaphendula nje kahle ngithi i-competence test abanye abantu baye bethi nomuntu eyifeyilile kodwa athathwe kuye ngokuthi i-criteria yabo lo kwenza ukuthi umuntu athathwe ukufeyila nokuphasa kuyingxenye into lokho abanye bathi hayi uyifeyilile i-competence kodwa yile ngxenye ye-competence test so singamthatha or hayi ufeyile le ngxenye ye-competence strong kakhulu ngeke aze athatheke or abanye bethi hayi babona ukuthi anga-improve something like that so kuye kube khona izinto akubi straight ukuthi oh fail i-competence then or pass i-competence angayiphasa futhi competence uthola ukuthi ngapha ku-interview ayikhona khambanga kahle then awusamthathi ke njalo kodwa enze kahle ngale competence so akuyona into straightforward as far as I know.
Asidlule mphathi. As a minister, laphaya esiphoyiseni wena obhekelele umthetho from cabinet. Are you allowed ukuphula imithetho noma kunezinto uma uphulile imithetho sithi hayi le ngoba iphula uminister singayibeka eceleni?
Cha, awuvumelekile ukuphula umthetho.
Singakwazi ukwenza lokho. Okay. Ngikubuza ngoba ngifuna sibheke impendulo zakhe endaweni eziningi. Did you give uNkabinde noma chief of staff uNkabinde an unlawful or illegal instruction to record Baba Mkhwanazi on the phone?
No, I gave him no instruction. I only made a suggestion to him.
Uyazikhumbula uthi kuyena ngimtshelile ukuthi abomrecorda.
Ngikhumbula ngathi he must consider.
Ngaquleka macingwane. Mhlambe singayibuyele emuva siyoyihlola mhlambe ngelinye ilanga. Kodwa ke wena in your words uthe umtshelile ukuthi aka record uMkhwanazi. Asiyibambeke ngale yakho ke indlela.
Okay.
Do you think umnikeze umbono oqondile yini ngaleyo ndlela umnikeze ngawo? Mhlambe wacabanga ukuthi ngabe ukuthi umnikeze into illegal?
Cha akukho illegal ukuthi uma ngikhuluma nawe ngifisa ukuthi ngikurecord ngazathu simbe ongavumelekile ukudlulela kumuntu wesithathu ukuthi alalele nina nobabili bese ya recorda.
Njengoba sibaningi la mphathi wami njengoba uyidlulisile ke le voice note ubumtshelile ukuthi ngiyakurecorda noma uzokurecorda uNkabinde ngizoyidlulisa?
Hayi mina ngimrecordanga.
Usho ukuthi uNkabinde uyena ophulele umthetho?
Wala ngazi noma uphulile.
Asibuyele emuva mphathi wami ungangishiyi. Ngiyakuthembela kakhulu kuwe ukuthi wena uphethe umthetho. Kodwa muzothi awazi noma uphulile. I-act ithini ngokurecordana? Lo mbono unikeze uNkabinde ukuthi ubomrecord uma ekhuluma nawe. Is that a lawful instruction, not also instruction? Umbono omuhle yini lo?
Ukurecorda umuntu okhuluma naye wena akuyona into unlawful. Oku-unlawful ukuthi nithi nikhuluma nebabili bese bakhona umuntu on record.
Njengoba uNkabinde enzile.
Enze kuba
wena
erecorda mina sikhuluma naye.
Wena esikhuluma nawe la eParliament wena oze nayo. Uyithathephi?
Angisezwa ke noma sikhuluma ngento eyodwa.
Sikhuluma nge-recording mphathi, VN, voice note. It's you who brought that VN to Parliament. Therefore, that means Mkhwanazi, uNkabinde took it somewhere and gave it to you. Then you become number 3. Is that what you are saying?
No, ngithi umthetho uphuleka uma abantu bekhuluma bese uqhamuke ekhoneni bese uyaba recorda.
Mhlambe yima ungakuzwa. Kulesi sigameko esenzakele. Are you saying ubaba uNkabinde lento ayenzile ukuthi a record ubaba uMkhwanazi engamtshelanga 1 bese 2 eyithatha ke le recording eyidlulisele kuwena, which makes you number 3? Akenzanga into wrong according to you.
Uma urecorda inkulumo oyikhuluma nomuntu ngqo njengoba ngeke ngasho ngathi akukhona intombazane engangakhuluma nayo yangirecorda ngazi yayisihlela yonke indawo leyo nkulumo kodwa umthetho uthi uma ngabe lo okhuluma nawe ekurecorda akuyona into yokuphula umthetho. Ngifuna ukugcina lapho nje, angifuni ukwanda.
Ngizodlula yabona ngalomthetho if bekuthiwa nje bekwenze bekuzocelela iveni imela ngaphandle mawuphuma uyigibelela iveni ngoba uphukile lo mthetho asingaye eceleni mphathi wami. So uyavuma ukuthi wena onikeze umbono namhlanje njengoba sowumbona that day beku instruction kuNkabinde ukuthi akamrecord?
Cha, ngaze ngimnikeze instruction.
Umnikeze
Ngamnikeza
umbono.
umbono.
Wena umnikezile. Did you not under oath say that awumazi uBrown siku committee?
Angikaze ngisho ukuthi angimazi uBrown.
Ngomhla ka5 March.
Hayi, angikaze ngisho.
Wathi uyamazi?
uBrown.
First time ubuzwa ngoBrown.
Angikaze ngisho ukuthi ngiyamazi uBrown ngomhla ka5. Angikaze ngisho futhi ukuthi angimazi. Ngathi akayona i-associate, in other words akayena umuntu engisondelene naye esibhema naye ugwayi. Ngaphika lokho kuphela.
Ngathi Moshi uyintsha lempendulo nginenhlanhla yokuthola impendulo ezinje angizubhora abantu la phakathi.
Cha ngithi mhlonishwa idlalile la isayilalela ithi the person that General Mkhwanazi is talking about is not my associate. Isho kanjalo. Ekuqaleni comment yami ithi the person that was on the phone, the photograph that was on the phone, I responded by saying, I don't know this person. Ngachaza ukuthi kwangena uBrown lo, it was not Brown. So mangathi angimazi ngangasho yena uBrown. Ngangisho umuntu owayesesithombeni ocingweni. Okwangena uBrown.
Lesithombe osinikwa ubani?
Ngangisinezwa enye insizwa okuthiwa umuzi ngem.
Mhla siku committee virtual bakhombisa isithombe.
Cha, angithi mina ngesikhathi siku committee ngase ngixoxela iCommittee into eyake yenzeka kumina ngelinye ilanga ngikwe ekisendaweni ethize. Ngihlangana nomuntu ethi khona umuntu onje kanje ohambe ekhuluma ukuthi ngase ngithi lo muntu ubani lo muntu ngaze ngathi awungikhombise uma ungasithola isithombe bongikhombisa wase ngikhombisa ke emva kokufuna hayi ukuthi sasikhona isithombe eParliament kwangekho isithombe eParliament ngangixoxa indaba xoxela iCommittee istory sokuqala engasixoxa ngase ngixoxe sesibili story somuntu wangifonela ethi kunomuntu ngapha eWitbank ohambe ethi ukoleka imali ethi umfowethu omncane ongilamayo ngase ngichaza ukuthi hayi ayikho into enjalo ngoba usahamba emhlabeni. So kwakuzitori zami nje lezo ezimbili.
Kona uqinisile minister istory hayi. Uphiwe. Uyakhumbula uthi uprincipal we-issue yakacwecwe usethathile ama blood test waphinde wena futhi wajika wathi no akawathathanga?
Yes, ngiyakhumbula.
Uyakhumbula iviki elidlule usibizile wasibeka la phansi wathi wena une recording eveza ubufakazi bokuthi ubaba uMkhwanazi ukuthreatenishile?
Cha ngithe kune recording engifisa ukuthi iParliament lizwe or iCommittee lizwe la khona kune recording ethize ngase ngichaza ke uma ingasenzeki leyo nto ukuthi kube kuphi la kube khona inkinga.
So
Ngakusasa.
Askes baba?
Ngakusasa.
So sisesokhuluma ke ngalento yale voice note. Ngizama ukuza nepattern yokuthi amahlandla amaningi minister uvamise ukuthi ngathi kuyayiphumela la kuwena uvela uphendule bese ngelinye ilanga ubuye uzoyishintsha lempendulo uphendule ubuye awuyi research yini mhlawumbe into oyibuza noma uyiphendula bese uzobona phambili.
Can I raise a point of order?
Kunjalo.
Yes, Chair, with due respect to Umhlonishwa Ushong. And I would sympathize with you, Chair, as well, because you may not fully understand Zulu. But when somebody says, Kushuguti la kuwena kuyasiphumela, what is meant is that, one, you are just talking without even thinking. So somebody is just saying something which is not a reflection of a working brain. I mean, it's like somebody, let me make another example. Makutwa, when they say kuyasphumela, it's like somebody who can't even control themselves when they need to go to the bathroom to pee. They just release the pee along the way to the bathroom. In Zulu, it's right in that context. So I don't think it's correct for the honorable member to say to the minister, "La kuwena kuyasphumela nje." I would like to suggest that he doesn't use that language. Thanks. Must withdraw it, in fact.
I think Chair umhlonishwa ngokukhulu kuyithoba. Angibonga ukungikhuza ukukhuza abantu abadala isibusiso ngesinto. Ungivimbe ngakaqeda ukukhuluma ngisathi mhlambe kayiphumela ungakayenzi research. Mhlambe le part ethi research akayizwanga. But mawukuthi izwakele kabi ngiyixolisela. But ngibuza ukuthi kuyiphumela ekunga researchwanga yini. Ngiyayixolisela.
You apologize.
It is an apology.
You heard what he said, Honorable Minister.
Clearly. I have no problem with the
And
apology.
the context that is being given is the correct context.
It's a correct context.
The apology is accepted, Honorable Member.
Ngixolisa kubaba uNtuli kakhulu ngoba angimthukanga umhlonishwa.
Honorable
Ngichazile egcineni ukuthi research kuyiphumela kunga researchwanga.
Honorable
Apologies accepted.
Honorable Shongwe is humbling himself before you.
I
Yeah,
accept the
understand the
apology.
Chair, understand.
Nami I accept unconditionally.
Amen. Uyakhumbula mhlonishwa sisethendeni lelingalela lishayisa ngomoya usithembisa inamba ye call center wathi uzosibuyela nayo.
Yes, ngiyakhumbula.
Wayithola?
Yes.
Wabuya nayo wasinika lela langa lela.
Inamba inkinga issue mangikhumbula kahle mhlawumbe ke ngiyakhohlwa ukuthi iyasebenza noma isebenzi. Inamba ngayinikeza kwasoba ukuthi ziyasebenza yini. Now abanye babethi ayisebenzi abanye bethi ziyasebenza ngaphuma.
Wena wawuthini mphathi? Wawukubaphi kulaba babili?
Ngathi ziyasebenza.
Okay.
Ngaphuma ngafona yangasebenza inamba. Ngacheck ukuthi yini ngasebenzi kwathiwa babili abantu abasebenza kule call center kwathiwa oyedwa ubeme passage ekhuluma nocingo oyedwa ubese bathroom so bengekho umuntu operation ngase ngithi abayivale leyo nto ngoba ingenzela ihlazo kubantu kanti abantu bakhona babili ukunje umunye use passage ngalesikhathi kufuna ulibele ucingo omunye use bathroom ngase ngithi akube khona umuntu okhona ngaso sonke isikhathi. Kwenzeka kanjalo.
Ngifikela umbuzo ukuthi ngibuza ukuthi inhloboni yefone le wakuyi cellphone eyodwa yini for i-country yonke?
No, kwakunabantu ababili e-call center. So lo oqala kwathiwa ngesikhathi ngifona mina ngicheck ukuthi nawo abantu befona kodwa ucingo lithathwa umuntu wathi ubese passage ekhuluma ucingo lakhe omunye ubese bathroom.
So uchaza ukuthi bathi kuwena yakhala le phone but azange ibanjwe.
Ifoni yase call center yakhala. Yes, yangabanjwa ngoba akho umuntu.
Ngicela ukusho mina ukuthi le phone engasebenzi mphathi azange ikhale. Wena wake wayihlola wena ngokwakho?
Angithi ngiqale lapho ngayihlola yakhala yangabanjwa ngase ngifonela ke izikhulu zabo ukuthi nakho ngifona la umuntu engalibamba ucingo kanti ama members eParliament athi kukhona inkinga la sengiyaphuma ke ngiya ngemuva kwetende ngiyafona ucingo alithathwa umuntu sengifonela ke isikhulu kwenziwa yini ucingo lungasebenzi bathi hey bazo check isikhashana basebethi hayi omunye ubese passage omunye ese bathroom that's why belungathathwa umuntu kodwa belikhala.
Angisebenzisa igama elithi tendency bengizothi umkhuba manje honorable chief ebuzolimala alithathe kabi. Lona mkhuba uyawubona ukuthi umningana la kuwena ezintweni oyikhuluma zingahlolwanga bese ziyohlolwa ngamuva.
Njengakuphi?
Case ekacece wathi igazi lithathiwe.
Ngase ngiyachaza ukuthi
cha mhlambe ungawuphendula wakho umbuzo wami uthi uyawubona lo mkhuba ukuthi uba mningi owakho uthi ngachaza na
cha
wakho umbuzo lo owami uthi uyawubona yini ukuthi lo mkhuba mningi umuntu ozophendula ukuthi ngachaza ukuthi umbuzo wakho uzothi wachaza na. So asike mhlambe silungise mphathi. Wami umbuzo uthi uyawubona lo mkhuba noma le tendency ukuthi kuwena kuyakhulumeka bese kubuya ngamuva kuyalungiswa.
Cha, angiwuboni njengomkhuba kodwa ngiyabona ukuthi kuke kwenzeke kube kanjalo.
Kaningana. Mhlambe konke mhlawumbe sithi konke nje kule ngiyibuze la.
Kusho ukuthi useyiphendula manje
Cha
mfundisi.
ngiyabuza ngithi sithi mhlawumbe konke noma
Eyami impendulo ithi kuyenzeka.
ngiyabonga. Kukangakanani ukuthi kena mhla ka-31 mubhala lencwadi. Kwakunale nkinga yokuthi wawungakahleleki kahle wawungakahlelelwa kahle ukuphenduleka mhlawumbe uthola information ephelele wasuthatha lesinqumo ukuphuthuma kuze kungene lo immediately disband.
Cha, incwadi engayibhala isemthethweni futhi isebenza ngaphakathi kumthetho sisekelo. Udaba luka immediate lukhulunyiwe ngumyalo kaSihlalo ngicabanga ukuthi silisongile kodwa uma ufuna ngiliqale phansi ngingaliqala. Cha,
Ngiyasaba ungayicali mphathi wena ukhuthele ungayilanda yiyo ngayisa kude kakhulu. Kodwa angu interject mhlawumbe for the sake of isikhathi.
Okay.
Uma ngicela ungisiza la ngescenario.
Okay.
Uma umuntu ezothi start a process of disbanding iPKTT immediately. Wena makuwukuthi wena uGeneral Sibiya uhlele lapho. No angasebenzisa uGeneral Sibiya ngisebenzisa umuntu ongathi uyacabangeka. Ubaba Mkhwanazi mhlawumbe. uGeneral Mkhwanazi uthi lapho ngikunika instruction mina nguMinister Mchunu. Start a process of disbanding this PKTT team. What would you do? What does it mean to you?
It means you have received.
Ungifakile immediately. Ngixolisa ungafaki immediately. Start a process of disbanding PKTT immediately. What would you do?
Angithi 5:20 ebusuku. Uzofunda incwadi understand ukuthi nayi incwadi isho njalo kodwa ke isikhathi 5:20 awuke office. Okusho ukuthi usuyifundile uyayizwa kodwa ayikho into ongayenza njengamanje. Uyenza until kube khona isikhathi ukwazi ukuyenza leyo nto. Manga kusasa kumhla ka1 ama office evaliwe kusho ukuthi awukakwazi ngoba kuvaliwe ukuyenza koze kube yila khona kuba khona into ethi ingenzeka.
Then umuntu mayezothi disband Ngamphathi ngoba honorable chief whip uqeda ukukhothela lento engikhulumela yona la manje awukushonga ukuthi awunayo lento leyo kuyena awushonga ukuthi awunayo kodwa uyiphendulile.
Cha uchazile uma ubumlalele kahle umhlonishwa uNtuli uthe uzongifundela izinto uzofika athi ku paragraph bani ngase ngiphendula into eqondile manje ke awenzanga nje ngoba enzile yikho nje
Ngixolisele lokho mhlawumbe ke ngikhulumela kulelo phuzu akufundele lona ngibona ukuthi angingakufundeli lona ngoba ulifundile so ingakho ngibuza ukuthi kulowo mbuzo lo changes to into ayikhulumile ke wasethi usefana nowakho ku immediately later. Do you see the similarities and do you think it's a coincidence noma benihlangene nakhuluma?
angiwabone until kuze kube khona into okhuluma ngayo la kaSibiya nengikhuluma ngakho mina.
Ngicabanga ukuthi angeke kuthiwe suyeke immediately ngathi uyakulimaza impela immediately awufuni ukuvuma. Bengiya la.
Awungilimazi awukulimazi mhlonishwa kodwa ngithi ngiyafakaza manje ke kufanele ngifakaze ngento mina self ngingabuye bese ngithatheka nje okushiwo umhlonishwa bese ngikwenza ubufakazi bami angikwazi ukwenza njalo.
Uyawabamba yini ama caucus namalunga wasesiphoyiseni laba abaphethe? Mhlawumbe uyaba nama caucus nje umhabule eceleni nje.
Hayi kuba nemhlangano lapha hayi ama caucus
the formal.
Hayi kuba nemhlangano nje. Ngiba nomhlangano no National Commissioner and ngasho ukuthi ngibambe imhlangano cishe ngaphezulu kwa9 to National Commissioner 1-on-1 ngabamba 28 or more so ile umhlangano ebakhona.
Kuba nama minutes lapho kulomhlangano kuba no PA secretary into enjalo.
Impela nje isikhathi esiningi kwenzeka kanjalo. Kodwa hayi mangino National Commissioner siba sobabili akubabikho umuntu othatha ama minutes.
Okay.
Masibonga kanjalo.
Uma uGeneral Sibiya ecela imeeting ethi ithinta noMotlala nefamily. Sorry. Icela ubaba uMkhwanazi uGeneral Mkhwanazi icela kwena imeeting. Uma icela le meeting uthe wena uyinqabile because of ibinga qualify according to the structure mhlawumbe ovuma ngaso noma angisakhumbula impendulo yakho kodwa ibingalapho mhlawumbe ungangikhumbuza kancane.
Angishongo ukuthi nganqaba ngithe ngawuthola umyalezo ngaphendula ngase ngiyacabangisisa ukuthi sizoyimisa kanjani le ndaba ngase ngiyimisa ngendlela engangibona ukuthi ngokwelami uhlangothi kuzofanele ukuthi ngiyimise ngayo ngiqale ngayo ngiqale ngo National Commissioner kanye no deputy wakhe ngize ku deputy wakhe ngize ku provincial commissioner bobabili ngoba ngabona ukuthi kungeke kwaba into ebulungiso noma ekahle ukuthi ngilande umuntu ongaphandle ngobantu abala ngizomfaka emhlanganweni ngoba hayi
ubani lo muntu ongaphandle umkhotsi. Okay, so uma sowuthatha imeeting
asengithi ke ngobuye ngixoxe ke naye uGeneral Mkhwanazi masihlangana naye noSibiya ngathi hayi sobuye sithola isikhathi sixoxe ngangiqonde ukuthi ngomcela nje ukuthi wandonga lo mhlangano okhuluma ngawo sesingawubamba manje kodwa ngisafuna ukuthi ke ngiwubambe nawe ke ngizwe ukuthi yini le efaka ifamily wena nefamily le efaka internal kodwa ubona ukuthi singamisa kanjani ngoba lena ayizolunga ukuthi silande uBrown Mkhotsi ngaphandle mhlambe nalo chief of staff kwenzeka kanjani.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, no, follow-up question, Chair. The Minister is saying he decided not to convene a meeting as suggested by or as requested by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. So he decided to have a meeting with the National Commissioner, subsequently with the Deputy National Commissioner. Now, the question is, What were you discussing with the National Commissioner in relation to a request of General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi? Because a reason for a meeting requested by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi was known by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, not by the National Commissioner, not by the Deputy National Commissioner. So if I call a meeting, if I request a meeting from you, I don't even tell you an agenda of that meeting. And then you decide to convene a meeting with somebody else. What is it that exactly that you want to discuss with that person? Having not solicited a reason for my request from me as a person who requested for a meeting. I'm trying to get a logic of the approach that you decided to espouse.
The meeting, I didn't say that I decided to have a meeting with General Masemula and then subsequent, as you say, with Spear. I decided that the approach would be I would meet General Masemula and General Spear together because I was aware of the challenges and so on between them. That is my decision, that one. And then I would have a meeting with General Spear and General Mkhwanazi, which I did. What General Mkhwanazi didn't say instruction that I must carry. It was a proposal that there are certain issues, let's have a meeting. I think decide to reconfigure ngalendlela engayibeka ngayo. Ngase ngithi ke so besihlanganeke mina naye bese sixoxa ukuthi what are these other aspects. That was the logic that I came to.
Can I? No, Minister. So did General Mkhwanazi make an indication of the agenda that he intended to have in that meeting, a meeting that he wanted you guys to have? Did he share an agenda with you to say, Minister, let's meet and discuss about A, B, C, and D? So why? Because according to the explanation that you have given, there is no nexus between a request of General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and a meeting that you decided to convene with the National Commissioner. To discuss what with General, with General Masemula in relation to the request made by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Because you didn't know, he didn't share the agenda with you. So you didn't know the items that he intended to put on the agenda during your meeting, had you consented to his request.
No, I don't think you are following the whole thing. I am saying I was aware of other matters, other challenges between the National Commissioner and the Deputy National Commissioner. Now, two, I've said the request was not an instruction that do this, do it this way. So, ngibona ngathi umhlonishwa is asking me as if you are about to say I broke the law for not carrying out what General Mkhwanazi was saying. It was a request, it was a proposal. Then I said when I met him with on that day, Ndonga, lo amhlangano loya owukhulume ngayo sizobamba, namhlanje sizobamba lo. So, and there was nothing wrong with that. Nothing.
No, Minister, I think you are not reading my mind correctly. I'm not about to accuse you of refusing to convene a meeting requested by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. That's not even where I'm going. The point here that I want to solicit is, how did you anticipate what General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi wanted you to discuss about, having not met him firstly to establish the intention or his motive for a request for a meeting? You decide without even hearing what General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi wanted to meet you, wanted you guys to meet for. You just you ignore him and then you go to the National Commissioner. So there is actually no connection between, in my view, no connection between a meeting that you had with the National Commissioner and a request made by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Because if you knew if maybe General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi had put an agenda on the request to say, Minister, I want us to discuss about A, B, C, and D in specific terms, at least I would be in a better position to understand where you are coming from. But you didn't know, you don't even ask him, ukuthi General ufuna sikhulume ngani, you just go straight to the National Commissioner. And you claim before this committee that the reason why you met the National Commissioner is because you wanted to speak to him first in relation to a meeting requested by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. But Minister, if you insist on the response that you have given, there's absolutely nothing I can do.
Your window has expired.
Thank you, Chair. Ngoba kuche sengikhanyisela ilambu, Hlonishwa ngizobuza nje imibuzo nje ewu30 kuphela bese ngiyavala. Izoba u30 nje kuphela. Owokuqala mphathi wami. Njengominister uvumelekile ukuboshwa mawenza iphutha?
Bonwa.
Ukuboshwa. Noma mhlamba amaphoyisa analo ilungelo lokuthi akuseshe akubophe umugangile or maye kusola ukuthi ugangile or azoseshe ekhaya. Noma wena as a minister unento evimba ukuthi cha uminister akathintwa lapho.
Njengelunga leParliament uyazi ukuthi imithetho yasezweni laseNingizimu Afrika iapply kuwo wonke umuntu ngokulinganayo. I take it for granted ukuthi you know that. And so I confirm that.
So Mhlonishwa kwenzekile ke ukuthi kuthiwe kwakho kufika amaphoyisa azosesha wajikiswa. Ajikiswe kanjani and esejikisiwe wenzeni ngaloko? Obani laba abajikisa amaphoyisa azosesha kwakho?
Ya manje indlela oqala ngayo uthafike kwakho kanti mina ngithe amaphoyisa afika esangweni le estate. Okay.
Eze kuba
asiyiqondise lenkinga. Asefike ke esho ukuthi afuna ukuya la ngihlala khona. Kwakhulunywa ngendlela nga-interview imuntu mina ngoba ukuthi ngempela lo wathini kodwa agcine ngangenanga ngoba ngiyathola nje sengithola ireport ukuthi amaphoyisa befikile angakwazi agcina esangweni.
Lokuthi ajikisiwe mphathi uzwe nini? Uthole ni lo mbiko lo?
Ngezwe ngalela ngaye kade efike ngalo.
Ude kangakanani nesikhathi befike ngaso mhlawumbe?
Hayi noma ngakwazi ukusho ukuthi bebefike ngasiphi isikhathi mina ngizwa ngasiphi isikhathi kodwa bafika ekseni ngezwe nje nami kwakusesekuseni kodwa.
Wakhola ukuthi amaphoyisa yini?
Ukuthi kade kufika amaphoyisa yini? Akithi inkulumo ayisho njalo.
Sesho ukuthi wena wakholwa yini mphathi?
Ukukholwa nokungakholwa angaze ngifinyelele kukho. Engafinyelela khona ukuthi ngilalela inkulumo la afikile kwase kuthiwana awakwazanga ukungena ajikile ngase okay.
Mhlawumbe mangabuza mphathi into yanini lesikhuluma ngayo?
Asanoma umhla ka9 October noma kodwa nje
umuntu wase South Africa yini emela ifunde kulesi sigameko kuwe makufika amaphoyisa noma egcekeni lakhe amfuna kumele enze njani? Akafundeni ukuthi angalinda uzawabona next month ngoba ubhizi kakhulu or uzophuthuma yekona? Yini emela ifunde njengominister wamaphoyisa makufike nje umuntu unga-advise abantu uthi hey makufika amaphoyisa kwakho ekufuna unga-advise uthini lapho?
Ake ngenze i-background kahle ukuze sikhulume into esikuyo ngendlela eyi-1. Amaphoyisa aqale aya emzini othize ngenhloso yokuyobona uNkabinde. Athola ukuthi kuleyo ndawo aya kuyona akekho uNkabinde, kukhona omunye umuntu. Amaphoyisa ke asiyamthatha ke lo muntu athi abamkhombise awabakhombise la uNkabinde ahlala khona. Aya afika ngakwazi ukungena lapha ehlala khona ngoba ukulandisa kwento engayizwayo afika avinjwa kuleyo estate esangweni. ngoba kukhona izinto ezazingekho ayengakaze ayikhombise kwaze kwafika lapho uqala kwi-search warrant yayingekho. Okwesibili babengazi ukuthi baya kumuphi umuzi and akekho umuntu owayezobachazela base bethi lava basesangweni yabona mawungena la ungena ngoba wazi ukuthi uya kumuphi umuzi manje neya kumuphi umuzi bathola ukuthi abazi ukuthi uNkabeni uhlalaphi base ke bephindele emuva manje ke ikhona ke
sengizovala. Sorry ungiphazamisile uChair, angazi noma uyakudefenda or uyangiphazamisa ngathi kodwa.
Manje ke ngakusasa asevukela kule ndawo engihlala kuyona angiyizwa indaba mangilalela kahle ukuthi afika akhipha i-search warrant asethi siyemzini othize angiyizwa leyo ndaba. So kusho ukuthi ke isimo sodaba simi kanjalo mhlonishwa sisonke akumina onqabayo akumina onayiphi inkinga kodwa kusho ukuthi uma kuukuthi babefike lapha engihlala khona njengoba babefike kwaNkabini kusho ukuthi babengayiphethe incwadi bavumelayo ukuthi kumele bangene. So into efuna ifundwe abantu baseNingizimu Afrika ukuthi amaphoyisa awavunyelwe ukungena kwakhe yadini engayiphethe ethi azosesha engayiphethe i-search warrant.
Uma ekuhloniphile wangangena awusayengani kuwona uyohlola uyobuza ukuthi ningifunelani madoda. Angifake mphathi wami umbuzo wami wokugcina.
Kwathiwa hambile.
Excuse phathi?
Kwathiwa sehambile.
Wena wangaye epolice station.
Kuyiphi police station? Akuyona police station.
Abashongo lutho.
Akuyona police station ayezongifuna kwakwamaphoyisa. Kwathiwa ahambile.
Awashongo ukuthi amaphoyisa kephi?
Hayi cha bangitshela.
Okay. Angibuze umbuzo wami wokugcina uShaye sengisuse esihlalweni. Lo nguthunywa abantu base South Africa. Bathe ngubuza ukuthi since waba uminister icondition yamaphoyisa injani since waba uminister wena, and do you think there is political interference? Sengivala, would you re-employ uGeneral Mkhwanazi njengoba icontract yakhe izophela? Ngiyabonga.
Okay. Angiqale ngalombuzo wokugcina uminister akam-employ uprovincial commissioner.
Would you recommend?
Cha, uminister kanalo iqhaza lokurecommenda okusemthethweni. Analo iqhaza libambayo. Uma ufuna ngichazele ukuthi ungena minister, uminister uprovincial commissioner appoint national commissioner a consult no premier. Uma bengavumelani la ungena khona uminister akafiki ke lelo thuba. Okwesibili injani icondition angazi ke kahle ukuthi usho ukuthini ngecondition kodwa ukusebenza nje kukonke akuyona into engiyithatha ngokuthi isezingeni ongathola ukuthi lingaba kuyona. Kuningi okusafanele ukuthi kwenziwe ukuzama ukubhekana nenselelo zomphakathi mayelana nezokuphepha. Kuseneyikhala ke eziningi lapho njengoba nje abantu bekhala ukuthi abaphephile indawo ngeendawo la eSouth Africa. Kwezinye indawo kufiwa nje kakhulu ikakhulukazi lama province amane iWestern Cape neEastern Cape bese kuba iKwaZulu Natal neGauteng. Ilawo ama province okufikwa kona kusho ukuthi isimo ke sethu sokubhekana nalengwadla asikho ezingeni elifanele okwamanje kusafanele sisebenze kanzima. Angisazi umunye umbuzo wesithathu
cha usuke wathatha wakho umbuzo umphathi awufaka kuwena manje wangaphenduleka lo wami. Angibuza mhlawumbe njengoba uMchunu, would you nje personally would you recommend, or without ubuminister would you recommend wena personally ukuthi acashwa yini ubaba uMkhwanazi as a citizen nje? Do you think uyiphoyisa right singachubeka simcashe noma as a citizen? Wena uphendulele uminister.
Ngiphendule ngoba angikwazi ukuthi angikuyena manje ufuna ungifaka entweni wena engenalo iqhaza kulo kodwa ufuna ungifaka ngewindi manje angikwazi ukungena kuleli windi lincane kakhulu lelo ngifaka kulo.
Okay, no, thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Shongwe. Honorable Cameron, are you ready? If I can please pass the baton to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wanted to start with a question of clarity on the word immediately, but I won't. No, I'm just joking, Chair. No, we're not going to go into immediately now. Minister, firstly, thank you for your patience and explaining the definition of immediately so many times, according to you. I'm going to jump to something that we haven't actually spoken about that much today, and that is the irregularity of the Medicare 24 contract. I want to firstly start by asking you when you first picked up on the irregularity regarding the Medicare 24 contract, so that for the record. And is it something that your office discovered internally, or is it something that came to your attention otherwise?
On the 20th of December last year, we were due to fly from Cape Town to Durban. And when I left the house where I stay, I then read in my cell phone and found an article written by News 24. And it caught my eyes because there was SAPS, then there was a contract, as you mentioned. So I read the whole article. It was freely available. And the way it was written, it looked factual. I mean, that's the impression I got. And then on our way with the National Commission and other people, I then shared the article with the national chair, with the national commissioner. I gave him myself to say, are you aware of this, national commissioner? And he read it. And he said, yeah, no, I know about this. And I did check whether everything was done properly. And the people said, yes, it was done properly. And then, or awarded properly. And then he said, but if minister wants to get a briefing, I can organize a briefing. And then I said, please, let's organize a briefing. And indeed, that briefing was organized.
Thank you, Minister. In this specific case, and you'll see where I'm getting at now regarding procurement matters, can you share with us what has been the impact on police members, if at all, and whether they're still receiving the service that they should receive? Obviously, if you take the space of time that you've been, not been in office, been suspended, you don't need to comment on that, but before that maybe, and how has this gap been managed on the ground?
Now first, so let me conclude. I left without saying whether it was discovered internal, but it's self-explanatory to what I've just said.
Sure.
Now, how they are closing the gap, I don't know, because surely it would take some time before another service provider gets provided, but I'm not sure about it.
Thank you, Minister. So the reason I'm starting with the Medicare questions is just because I think there's a bigger problem with regards to procurement. Medicare is a very good recent example. In the recent Auditor General reports, we saw that SAPS incurred over 649 million rands worth of irregular expenditure due to non-compliance with procurement laws. That's a 140% increase from the previous year. Why, in your opinion, has there been such a sharp rise despite prior commitments to tighten controls for procurement?
Irregular expenditure and other issues like wasteful expenditure are men and woman made. And they show, or they are an example of less than required attention to matters of procurement and finances generally. It means that there's something that SAPs are not doing and doing properly in terms of accounting for the finances of the department. There's no other explanation, because irregular expenditure doesn't come from anywhere. It comes from your hands, the way you handle money and the way you follow compliances. If you don't comply with prescripts of the PFMA, then that's a problem.
Thank you, Minister. I think for clarity's sake, the question I'm getting at is there an increase, did you pick up an increase in procurement-related corruption or alleged corruption in SAPS? Because when you look at these numbers, usually when there's this type of irregular expenditure, it points to significant corruption of some kind. And it's not the first time that this happens. So I want to ask you if, let me maybe give more context. Also in the Auditor General report, it shows almost 2.5 billion rand that was investigated with regards to irregular expenditure that has not been submitted for further action. But I want to refer to a report from the SIU from probably around 2022, 2023, that was presented to you and I believe your special advisor as well, regarding SAP's PPE procurement during the COVID-19 period. Before I continue with the questions, are you aware of that report?
I'm aware of the report.
So Minister, the SIU investigation that was placed before you confirms that Mr. Molefi Fani, who I believe is currently, or he was Mr. Molefi Fani, at Treasury, he is now the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain Management in SAPS, was implicated in irregular SAPS PPE procurement during his tenure as the Chief Procurement Officer at National Treasury. You've been in office now for quite a few months. Obviously, we exclude the last month or two, and you're aware of these findings. What did you do to take steps in terms of Lieutenant General Fani being implicated in this significant corruption?
First, your first question that that deals with issues of irregularities and so on, whether it is a trend. This tender alone and the irregularities that accompanied it as it was awarded are quite a worrying factor, looking at the figure, 360 million. It's not a small thing, and whoever would have approved it would have applied their mind and would have crossed all the T's and put all the dots on the I's and so on. Seemingly, it was not done. Now, I'm aware of the SIU report. I'm aware of its pointers. It's a matter that the accounting officer is aware of. Now, it's a matter I think we had a discussion on, if I'm not mistaken, to say what do we do with these matters. It points to two people. One is on suspension for a very, very extended period of around 2 years or something like that, and then general fund. Let me just say that I don't think that the accounting officer has taken appropriate action, which would be either review the SIU report, either him or General Fund. Maybe it has happened now, I don't know, but I'm not aware of it having been taken. And it constitutes quite a problem that the SIU would have a report and then there would be nothing. But I can't recall whether we had a discussion with the National Commissioner, but it's likely that I did raise the matter with him.
Minister, and I say this respectfully, but I want to understand what action was taken from your office. You must understand from my point of view, firstly, we're running up to the BRRR process now in Parliament. We've got annual reports coming up. How do we grant any form of budget review or support any kind of budget review when we know that character is being implicated? I mean, the amount of money that we're speaking of with this specific case, I think it's close to 560 million rand. So it's not a small amount of money, it's significant. And, well, it should be seen as significant if it's a smaller amount as well. But the point is, the perception that is created with inaction is someone is either being protected or someone is actively not doing what they're meant to do to pursue this. So are you parking it in front of the door of the National Commissioner? If so, did you follow up with the National Commissioner? Because he's the accounting officer on this. Enlighten us, please.
It's just that I can't specifically remember whether we had a meeting and discussed the matter, but most probably we would have had the meeting where the matters would have been raised, and he would have the matter would have been left to him as accounting officer. But I haven't been nagging him on the matter, and it probably remains an unresolved matter. But he may have handled the matter himself, engaged SIU, and maybe they settled the matter in one way or the other. So I can't say for sure.
Thank you, Minister. I think what we'll have to do from our side is invite them. We can do that on a police committee side, specifically to look into procurement. I want to move to annual performance plan related matters. So you're confirming to me that the divisional commissioner responsible for SAP's procurement remains in office, from what you know. That's from what I know as well. General Fani is still in office. Despite, while under him being under SIU scrutiny, and that no interim safeguards were put in place to protect the procurement system that you know of.
But when we were doing the structure, the organization structure, reviewing it, we changed that and said matters of supply chain should happen under the CFO, because before it was separate. And when it comes to accounting, I thought that looseness, if I could use that word, would have contributed to some of these problems that you're talking about. So we migrated it. And I hope that in the structure that has been signed, I forgot to look at that particular one. We said it must be under CFO, because she deals with matters of finances already. And she should have an eye, even if it's a sub-unit, on what is happening there for control purposes. That is what we did.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I think from my side, and that's why the reason why I use this as an example is that the whole Medicare Kat Matlala issue, in my opinion, wouldn't have easily arisen had this type of thing been handled with urgency. I mean, you can imagine, 500 million rand. I got a message now, the members doing training at Rudapla Training Academy don't have enough food for the members doing training at the academy with the K9 members. Now, something as simple as that, making sure that money is managed properly, even in terms of the smaller amounts, could have stopped this from happening. And I constantly try to think what could have been done to prevent us from having to zoom in on this. Given the repeat findings over 5 consecutive years by the Auditor General, do you feel that consequence management mechanisms in SAPS are effective?
I don't think so, because I'm not aware of such steps or demonstration of such steps. But I know that there is a commitment or determination to improve. That's why one of the days we held an efficiency and effectiveness meeting to say CFO safeguard and accounting officer safeguard the finances, because we can only optimize on what we have and then be able to do more. So I'm hoping that there've since been tighter management of finances in the department than what has been happening.
So, Minister, now it comes to, and you can tell me if it's a mistake on your end or not, but in terms of the strategic plan and annual performance plan of SAPS, you signed on it, and there was specific mention of the professionalization of SAPS as one, and the eradication of corruption in SAPS. So, as two, let's call them flagship priorities for or during your tenure, how do you reconcile those commitments with the failure from your office against a senior SAPS official like Lieutenant General Fani, to a certain extent Lieutenant General Vuma, who's been on suspension for a very, very long time? How do you reconcile those written commitments with these procurement irregularities shown in the SIU investigation? I want to understand if your anti-corruption agenda is real, and if it is, why is it so slow?
Now, we were meant, as we started right to the end of the year and beginning of the year, to really focus, even though at the risk of operational vis-a-vis whatever ministerial powers. But it's something that you can't help in the light of those questions which we come across in Parliament. That's why I'm talking about one coin and two sides. It becomes inevitable that you engage, and depending on the response, matters become urgent, actions become drastic. It's one case, but we were meant to focus our attention on management of finance. And I think capacity is there to improve drastically on this. It's not like it's not there. But somehow it requires closer supervision, much more serious supervision, including from the side of the ministry, as opposed to saying, well, accounting officer is there and you leave it like that, because when things go wrong, he is not the only one. Questions like these ones come up and we're in a corner. And therefore, we were meant to follow up on those points in our strategic plan, and particularly in our annual performance plan.
Thank you, Minister. I've got one more question regarding this. I want to understand, if we're speaking about professionalizing the police, in my opinion, it starts with integrity, and specifically integrity in leadership appointments. That's the most critical. We can't expect things on ground level to change if we've got questionable characters leading, supposedly leading in office. I would like to understand what message, according to you, does it send to close to 180,000 SAPS members, including administration, obviously, if a senior official, actually in this case several senior officials, are linked to procurement fraud and they remain in charge of those divisions? What message does that send in terms of accountability?
It does affect it lower, pointing to a lower direction rather than upwards. In other words, it doesn't inspire, it doesn't demonstrate that you are serious about these matters. And for that to be in place, you need to be one. You need to believe in one thing, all of you, ministry and top management of SAPS, that there needs to be changes and they need to be taken seriously. And that is what, rather than going on and on, taking things for granted, especially with the fortunes of on the financial side decreasing as it's happening, and we're more and more getting to be found wanting in terms of the quality of service, in some cases services itself. Like, you are quoting one example. It doesn't look good that there would be such and so on, but don't forget that I'm on leave. I don't want to get on matters when the acting minister is there, but generally speaking, that's not inspiring.
Fair, thank you, Minister. Minister, in terms of this whole procurement issue, I think that something that is frustrating to us is that we've really come to a point where we constantly hear the answer. We've actually heard this. General Sabia also pointed to that. The impression is created that we're okay with the current management structure. There are just minor oversight things that need to, let me make it clearer. We're okay with the individuals in senior management positions, and that there are, minor oversight functions that need to be improved. But I want to hear from you. Do you think it's time for the changing of the guard? Is it necessary for the South African Police Service, let's say the top 10, to be audited and possibly replaced?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily put it exactly the way you put it, but I spoke earlier on about the need to overhaul certain aspects and sections of SAPS. There is a need just to refresh and the organization. How you do it, it's a different matter, but that, because I think that sense of a repetitive kind of stance on things is now at odds with what is expected either in Parliament or elsewhere, and therefore there is a need for some kind of action, whether it is in that form or in another form. But it's difficult, it's going to be more and more difficult to leave just things as they are and go on just like that.
Minister, if you were back in office tomorrow, figuratively speaking, what would you do regarding this specific matter, this SIU matter? If you know all of these people are still in their positions, what would you do if you're back in office tomorrow?
Well, it's to call for a report. Where are we with the SIU report? Because as I'm saying, I'm sitting here talking. There may have been things that have been done since I left, but that would be something to be found out, and then act on them. And I do note that it does require solidity of a certain level to get into those matters and correct them.
Minister, I want to jump to Mr. Cedric Nkabindi, his appointment. We've touched on it a lot. There are one or two questions, I think, for the record that are important. Just in terms of the process, I want to understand, did you go through any kind of do you know if there was any kind of a security clearance process with regards to Mr. Nkabindi? Did he get security clearance? Was there any kind of vetting process in terms of clearance?
That is a standard practice, and I take it, I'm risking here because I am not called for it to see it. But that's a standard practice that there should be vetting. It's one of the standard practices.
But you're not sure?
In the sense that I don't remember asking for it to see it. But this is not managed within the employment of these people is not, of the staff in the ministry, is not necessarily managed within the ministry. It's managed by particular people in subs, and they are the ones who ensure compliance. I would need to talk to them to find out whether there is 100% compliance, but I take it that there is.
So, Chair, I think that's an important note for us for reporting on this, is that there is a serious gap in terms of due diligence being done, because, I mean, surely, Minister, you want to know, you could be able to trust the person sitting next to you. And I don't want to cast an aspersion on Mr. Nkabindi,
Yes.
but his name pops up everywhere. So surely some kind of due diligence had to have been followed. In terms of his suitability to manage confidential policing and even intelligence information, did you have any indication outside of that security clearance that he was suitable to handle that he was trustworthy to handle that type of information?
Yes, in the sense that, well, even without necessarily doing any specific check, but before he came to work with us as Chief of Staff, he was working at forensics in a bank. I would imagine that he wouldn't have worked there without being checked and being certified in terms of suitability to deal with confidential matters. And before that, he was at IPID. Now, normally, you would take that experience and passage of time and him as a sign that there would have been confidence when he worked there in those matters, because these are sensitive areas of work.
Minister, respectfully, banks don't answer very positively in that sense anymore. I believe recently in Cape Town there were 2 cases of arms dealers that were found with large amounts of firearms in containers, and they were both employees, quite senior employees, I might add, of very well-renowned commercial banks. So my question comes back to that due diligence. I want to understand if he did not have security clearance, or if you're unsure about it, why was he granted access to such sensitive material?
Well, I don't say he doesn't have security clearance. I'm just saying that I didn't ask for it. I don't remember asking for it. But we've been discussing clearances of other people, and I take it that he has. And I take it that he has what it takes to be Chief of Staff and to handle. I haven't heard anything coming out negative about him up until this kind of upheaval, where what you're talking about then similarly is coming here and there on him. But before that, there was nothing.
Minister, yeah, the doubt, and it could be that SAPS or SSA slipped on it, and we'll be able to follow that up. But it can't be that a Chief of Staff comes into such a sensitive position and we don't know whether that person has the clearance that they meant to have. And again, it's similar to the procurement issue. We could have potentially prevented a lot of the leaks and things that took place. Apart from a little bit of work experience at IPID, what skills specifically of Mr. Nkabindi stood out to you or convinced you that he should be capable of being in such a senior position in the ministry? In terms of, I'd say, more complex policing issues and even intelligence matters, because he would obviously have been exposed to that. He's really put into a position where he's in the belly of all the action. So, what specific experience apart from IPID stood out to you?
Yeah, firstly, I wouldn't want us to create an impression that the leaks that you are talking about are referring to from his part. We just park it like that without suggesting such. But to be specific on your question, I did talk about my experience of him at IPIT, when he was at IPIT, in terms of investigating the complaint that I had laid with IPIT. What specifically impressed me was the detail in terms of how he went about doing this job and bringing it to finality. I was quite impressed, and it was the first time I'd met him, and I felt that there was integrity throughout the process when it was done, and I was far from looking at ever working with him at that time because I was at home. And therefore that is what I picked up at that time.
Has he ever issued any instructions or correspondence or directives to SAPS or IPID officials on your behalf?
No, not that I know, but at one point we had I think a small discussion following a letter he received from one of the members, and that he processed it to IDAC. I think it followed a little chart or something like that, but he sent it, but I can't recall any other instance where he signed in his name and sent a document out.
And Minister, was he involved in any way in the drafting or the timing? I understand that you went and gave the closing of the PKTT thought at home and so on, but did he play any role in the drafting or the timing or communication of the letter to disband the PKTT?
No, he just relayed things as I gave it to him. Have you received, sent to special advisor? Have you received? Now you can then send it to specific people as indicated.
So Minister...
So it didn't play any role in drafting.
Okay. Do you still, I mean, at the moment, you're not actually sure if he has security clearance, right?
In the sense that I didn't see it. I don't recall asking for it.
Yeah, but you either know he has or he doesn't have.
Yes.
So do you still stand by your decision to appoint Mr. Nkabindi as the Chief of Staff to your office, given the concerns or the doubt in terms of his vetting background?
It's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, because I can't, on the basis of something that I'm not sure, to answer you specifically, and then I answer as if I am sure about your earlier question, and so I would want not to answer that particular question. But if I were to confirm and see his security clearance, that would be in the right direction to make me answer that question with confidence. But other aspects like qualifications and so on, and like stability in terms of being present at work all the time and following instructions, and not lapsing for a day or something like that. Of course, there's room for improvement, but he has stability as far as that's concerned, managing staff and so on. But to be specific on your answer, I would need to get that document.
Minister, so we can actually remove his name from it. To me, the fact that there's any doubt regarding this key person, the fact that you don't know and that you're not sure, is a cause for serious concern, because it means that there's a breach in terms of vetting and security of your office. It means that the potential leaks, and I'm not, again, remove his name from it. The point is that there could have been several other people that also didn't have clearance. And I want to say to you that if it is so that he didn't have security clearance, then obviously there's a significant breach. But if it is so that he does have security clearance and all of these leaks still occurred, then I would be seriously worried about the clearance process as well. The point is just that a chief of staff, you must know, he's either cleared or is not, because if you're not vetted in such a sensitive position, especially with this drama that we're facing at the moment.
I take your point.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I've got 4 or 5 last questions, but they're yes or no questions. I see the Chief Whip here from the corner of my eyes watching me, glaring at me. I can hear him whispering in Zulu to me. But I've got brief yes or no questions. The first one, yes or no, your affidavit explicitly states that the President agreed to close the PKTT.
Yes, it says so.
Yes or no, you issued the immediate disbandment letter without an approved transition plan.
Well, you will excuse me, I can't use yes or no there, but I will say, yes, there was a directive, but it pointed at a preliminary report, because I couldn't go to somebody and say,
Fair.
give me a transitional plan before I did that.
Yes or no, Minister, you met or communicated with Brown Mogotsi or Kat Matlala in the 14 days surrounding the 31st of December?
I definitely didn't communicate with Mogotsi on the 31st. I haven't seen that.
Thank you, Minister. Yes or no, you will submit your devices, or you will be willing to submit your devices for independent forensic review?
I would be more than willing to do so, and there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be willing to do so.
Then the last 2, Minister, yes or no, you personally appointed Cedric Nkabindi without security clearance at the time?
I can't say so because of what I said earlier on, that I may be making an error to answer you directly on that, because he may have, in terms of compliances that are required of him by the team that was handling his employment. I don't think they would have taken him without it, but I'm subject to confirmation or otherwise on this matter, because I don't do it myself, the employment part.
Let's check with Honorable Cameron, because he was concluding.
Yeah, just on the question before of handing over the gadgets to whatever independent, you are willing to hand over the gadgets even to the police who were turned away at the gate if they've got the necessary requirements?
Yes, my yes applies to them, exactly. Okay.
Sure. Minister, then my last question, and this is more a matter of opinion, it's not a yes or no question, and Chair, this is my last question, is do you think this whole drama, I keep calling it the drama, but is it a factional fight of sorts inside the South African Police Service, or is it really about drug cartels, or is it both? I would like to hear from you, and by this I'm not discrediting any theory at the moment. I don't want to, because there's still too much that we need to hear, and I also think a perception is created that a lot of this happened in the last 6 months, but if you listen to everyone that has spoken so far, things date back as far as when Minister Bheki Cele was the National Commissioner, or we hear the names of Ria Piecha or Minister Nathi Mthethwa, former Minister Nathi Mthethwa. So I want to understand from you, in your just your opinion, what do you think is going on? What's the reason for all of this?
I would say it's a combination of factors. One, less than required coherence, unity and coherence on the side of police executive management or top management. Two, it would also include personal battles informed by one interest or the other over time, and then streamlining people into columns, as I would put it, in accordance with how they would have dealt with matters of differences and so on of one kind or the other. But more than that, what I would want to say in the ad hoc committee, to the ad hoc committee, is that it's an opportunity, this one, to correct, if I could use that word, what's wrong, to deal with it. It's an opportunity to face reality. And my reading or my assessment is that it can't be nice. It can't be nice. It's an upheaval period to which you have to apply your minds quickly and decide at the same time, but carefully, and so on, because it's an opportunity that otherwise wouldn't have just come walking to you. But you do need to seize the moment and seize the opportunity and correct the situation for the future.
Thank you, Minister. That's it from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Cameron. Honorable Malim.
Chair, my apology. Before you give to SC, or before we break, an apology to the colleagues. You know, I forgot to ask the Minister if you know a guy called Jerry Boshocha. The mother sent me a message. He has been kidnapped from the 18th of November last year, and the allegation was such that Matlala had to do with it, and this case has been going on for some time. It's almost a year now. A person disappears, a high profile linked to Matlala, that Matlala is involved, and all of that, and police seems to be helpless about the whole situation. I'm sorry if you don't know it, but it's a guy who has been kidnapped from 18 November 2024 until today. And the mother asked me to ask you, where is her son?
If I could just check, is it not someone from the East Rand in Gauteng?
Somewhere in Gauteng, there in Pretoria or something.
I can't suddenly recall the name, but in terms of where. But the name isn't unfamiliar, and the incident, I wanted to link it with the East Rand, a case that I would say I at some point came across it. Now, then to say that from where I sit, there's been progress on most of the cases. And I wouldn't have expected that we have an outstanding matter like this one for so long. And I know that in some cases, really, they've done a sterling job, these teams that deal with these matters, often risking their lives and so on. So they generally have been performing well, and so this one would be an exception. I would make an effort as a report back on your side that I would inquire with the minister to check for us, and I would revert to you. But I would need your number to revert. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Malim. I think this is a very, very serious matter. It's a matter of national concern, and we must take collective responsibility, all of us, that the police commissioner was here. and it escaped us. What we should do, SC, let's write back to the police commissioner and request an explanation or a progress report, even if it's just one paragraph or one page. I don't think it will be wrong for us to make that follow-up. These are some of the things that South Africans want to hear us doing, demonstrating that we can act on their behalf. Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that decisive intervention. Honorable Skosan.
Thank you, Chair. Just before the SC, the Minister in that recording which was played here, it said it is a common cause that General Khan, who has previously been accused in drug operations, if you can clarify, because it was played here, being accused in a...
Let me check with you, because I thought you are asking a clarity-seeking question based on the matters that Honorable Cameron was raising. Because if you do this, it means I must now open to all members to come back with any matter that...
Let me make things easy for you, Chair. We will ask the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, because the person who was quoted here is still coming as well beside the Minister. Because that recording, which we didn't get that thread, there was an issue as well in that. So I wanted clarity, but if you say that you will open up, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Minister, Honorable Minister, before I give to the SC, just to pass the following. General Mkhwanazi, when he appeared before us, he stated here that he could not conclude that you were a corrupt person. And secondly, that the Edward Senzo Mchunu that he knew would not have signed the letter to disband the PKTT or the NPKTT. The Edward Senzo Mchunu that he knew. So when a statement like this one is put to you, is it your understanding that General Mkhwanazi had a high regard for you? Number one, he says that, look, where I am, I can conclude that Minister Mchunu is a corrupt person. Number two, the personality that I know, sitting here, I'm still not convinced that he could sign or put his signature on a document like this one. Do you understand him to be a person who had a high regard for you?
Well, Chair, it's quite a difficult question to be fair, to say, I know so and so, he has a high regard for me. So and so has a high regard or lower regard. Normally, we don't accord such accolades to ourselves. But to the extent that you're asking me a question, I have no reason to believe or to think that General Mkhwanazi would have, especially with the second one, he would have meant that he has less regard or even undermining me for signing the letter or for having written and signed the letter. So I would want to respond like that for now.
Let me check you as a public representative. And you have deposited here that the intervention was publicly announced that there are political killings in this province who are going to do something about it. And the Honorable Cameron has asked you about a transition plan to say, when that decision was taken and communicated, has there been an effort as a public representative to go back to those communities that have been affected to say to them, look, we have decided the way we did, and this is how we are going to deal with all those matters going forward? Has there been any initiative like that one?
Not as yet, Chair.
Not as yet. The last question, Honorable Minister, would be 2 months, and I'm taking from what you have said, 2 months after the decision has been taken, a briefing with the President happened. Am I correct? It might have been 2 months or less, because I remember you said something like February or March.
Yes.
Yeah. Had the President disagreed, because the record we have is that the President has agreed. Had the President disagreed, were you going to reverse the decision?
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your answers. Senior Counsel.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members.
Chair, just one, I'm sorry, Senior Counsel. Would there be a small opportunity for just 2 recommendations?
Yeah.
Just 2. Sorry, Senior Counsel. The first recommendation that I would want to make, I would transmit it, but I will just take a short version thereof because it's longer. I'm requesting or recommending that the Auditor General be approached and appointed to conduct a full and independent audit of the National Political Task Team's financial matters. There are some detail that's the first one. The second one is that we as a country, that it be recommended, I know that you are going to go to processes, that instead of having what we have now currently, your SIU, your IDAC, DPCI and other agencies, we consider recommending strongly that a transparent and accountable, no, not this one, that a single independent anti-corruption agency be seriously considered, because standing as we are, all of us in the security cluster know and acknowledge that we are very weak in the light of the kind of criminality and including corruption and complexities thereof that we are facing, that these matters be considered urgently. Thank you very much, but I will transmit the whole thing.
No, thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Senior Counsel.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, Honorable Minister. The first 2 questions, and again, I'd also request that you answer a yes or no, or give a short response so that I can get through my questions. The first 2 both relate to what happened on the 5th of March at the when you appeared before the Portfolio Committee. At that, I can read back to you what you said, but would you agree that at that meeting, that appearance before the Portfolio Committee, you did not mention to the committee that PKTT was an unlawful or illegal structure?
Yes, I didn't mention that.
You didn't mention it, notwithstanding the fact that there was a presentation which was on the agenda. The presentation was made by by Brigadier General Kumalo in response to your directive, and he then mentioned that he spoke about how the unit or the task team would be phased out.
Yes, that was the content of the presentation on the 5th, the phasing out.
Related to that, you're not aware that the Auditor General, whom you've now requested to conduct an audit into the PKTT, as ironically, there's no report from the Auditor General that you're aware of that accuses or finds that the police have incurred unlawful expenditure because they've been funding or budgeting for an illegal unit or structure?
The report is just on standard criteria, or like pointing at irregularities. It doesn't point to a particular area of subs, just irregularities and other findings.
In other words, the Auditor General has proceeded on the basis that the PFMA and other procurement policies and prescripts have been complied with.
Well, I wouldn't know what the findings assumed or not assumed.
Yeah, I think that question is too broad and perhaps unfair, but particularly in relation to the PKTT, there weren't any adverse findings.
Well, Senior Counsel, nor was there any finding in any other particular area like procurement, like this. I don't think the report would have been specific in a particular area.
Okay. Now, we heard from you that one of the reasons that informed your decision of the 31st of December, that's the directive of 31 December 2024, was inter alia hearing complaints from Professor Mary Dahas, and also from Ms. Mashali.
But also from...
Yes, I said amongst others. There were. You also received other WhatsApps, and so some have disappeared. But you mentioned, I'm asking specifically about Ms. Mashali, and you said that you, because she's a serial complainant, isn't it, in the police, very well known, you referred her complaints to the Inspector General for Intelligence.
No, I said I just wanted to know who Patricia Mashal is, not the complaints, but just her. I asked this.
Well, did you get the response from the Inspector General?
He did respond.
What was his response?
His response was that, yes, Patricia Mashal, on some cases, reliable, but in some cases she takes things that are factual and sometimes changes them and so on. So he gave a picture of somebody. I concluded that when you receive something, read it, but how you process it, you need to think carefully.
Following his response, did you conclude that there was substance in some or all of her complaints?
In some, I would take that, but not all.
Now, this is how you responded to the committee. But I must state this, that one of the people who is quite frequent in making allegations on social media regarding police, I took the initiative of referring back to the Inspector General to say, Inspector General, I frequently receive allegations from this person concerning SAPS, concerning leadership of SAPS at management level, including the National Commissioner.